Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Monday. It is a manic Monday here in the soccer world. We got shenanigans. We got arrests. We got accusations made about referees. We got all kinds of stuff to get into. Players on airplanes. We'll get into that as well. All the different things are going on. You want to be part of it? Join the conversation. If you are listening on our app, you can join the Twitch pitch and actually see our ugly mugs. Twitch.tv/soccer down here. You can listen on our app, as always. You can listen on soccerdownhere.net. You can interact with us on Twitter, if you like, at soccerdownhere. You can also send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com, if you are old school. People are interested in our new scarf that'll be coming out. You're going to have to stick around. You're going to have to wait a little bit. It's okay, Sean. There's a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of stuff happening, and we will talk about as much of it as we possibly can. I want to start with one thing because it came up over the weekend. It has since been resolved since our last show. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, and I'm going to explain why. Everybody by now, I believe, has read about the U.S. Soccer Federation elections and the vice presidential election, and some horrendous things that were said by a representative of the athletes committee, who has since been removed. And that's the number one thing, is that the committee took care of that as quickly as they could after those comments were made. You can't just, yell and say somebody's out. There's a process, and you have to do it correctly, and they did. And that person has been removed today. I'm not going to mention the person's name because I don't want to give them more attention than they deserve right now. It was not shocking, sadly, because of some of the discourse that we get at times around a lot of things. It was very disappointing. It was very disgusting. It angered me. Period. But I'm not going to spend most of the morning ranting and raving about it. I'm not going to give this person any more publicity than they've already gotten, because that's what they want at this point. They want to go back and forth and yell and scream and, do their thing on social media. And no, you guys can go find it if you want. That's fine. Don't waste your time. Jay-Z said it in a takeover. I'm going to paraphrase. You argue with fools. If people look at it from the outside, they can't tell who the fool is. So don't waste your time. Let the ranting and raving continue in the ranting and raving echo chamber. But look, here's the thing that I think gets lost when these things happen. We get shocked. We get upset. We get angry when people say stupid things. We get angry about it, and we should. Don't leave it at that. This is what I ask of you today, and this is all I'm going to say about this stupid situation. Don't leave it at getting angry about somebody's ignorance. Don't leave it at getting angry about somebody's hatred. Do something to change the situation. Not with this person, because, look, sometimes you can yell till you're blue in the face. It's not going to change anything. Go out and change the things that are being discussed here. Put in the work to support organizations that are trying to do that. Not everybody can, but you can amplify good things in the world rather than bad things. Don't waste your time amplifying this fool and this fool's divisive, disgusting rhetoric. Amplify organizations who are bringing good into the world. Amplify good. Don't ignore bad. No, that's not realistic. But don't amplify bad. Amplify good. Amplify an organization like Soccer in the Streets. Amplify an organization like Soccer Without Borders. Amplify an organization like the Starfinder Foundation in Philadelphia. Amplify Street Football World. Amplify organizations that are doing good in communities. Amplify things that bring good into the world. Don't amplify hate. Don't amplify negativity. And don't amplify stupidity. it's, I guess, you have to make a statement on these things these days because people might miss that you actually care. I think if you listen to the show and you know me and you know John and you know Jarrett and you know Nick, you know how we feel and you also know what we do in this regard. We do things to try to make at least the soccer world a better place because that's what we can affect and that's where our networks are. So, yeah, it's I am being very generalistic, Mazzano, again, because I don't want to amplify this fool. I really don't. And he got more attention than he deserved. And that's probably what he was looking for from his statements. And he kept going past, even just being a decent person in a meeting, he just kept going and going and going, spewing this nonsense. So go find it if you want to see what it is. Otherwise, focus on bringing good into the world. I know it's easy to look at the car crash, but man, let's actually help the people, okay? Instead of just looking at negative garbage and amplifying it more than anything.
We hear a lot these days in the echo chamber. And the one thing, and I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they hear all of the stuff that's going on out there, and it's stuff that rankled this particular individual. And I told this person, I said, don't get numb to it because that's the worst thing that you can do. You hear all of this stuff going on. Activate what's going on from what you're hearing. Don't just sit there and let it continue because if it continues, it just continues to grow. Don't get numb to these kinds of things. Find the good that you can do from these situations if these people continue to spew all of this hatred and stupidity. Take that and turn it into something good. That's what was my message on the weekend.
Just try to make the world a better place. That's what we can all do every day. Just try to make the world a better place. If you want to get consumed by whatever negativity or hatred that is there that grabs you, fight it off. Fight it off because you're just going to waste your time. We don't have all day on this planet. We don't have an unlimited amount of time. So I will choose good. I will choose love. I will choose what is right in the world, in my opinion, and I'm going to fight for it. And I'm just not going to waste my time with this kind of stuff. I'd rather go out and raise money for an organization that's trying to do something good. I'd rather amplify and share information from organizations that are doing good things than give this guy more attention than we already did in 8 minutes. So yep. We're done. We're going to move on. And we are going to talk about more ridiculousness in a much different way. But Barcelona, you have, they were amplifying bad things, and that's kind of what got them in trouble. But it's a little bit different here. Barcelona, if you have not seen the news this morning, former president Josep Bartomeu has been arrested. Now, that has not been 100% confirmed. Barcelona is trying to be a little vague on their statements about it. He's no longer the president. He stepped down. Not because of this stuff, but this stuff was part of the reason everything turned against him. Now, it's a little more complicated, and I think we're all kind of figuring out what's going on exactly as well. Guillaume Balaguer's added a little extra nugget to it that could be factoring in here. Barçagate. You might have forgotten Barçagate because it broke right before the pandemic, early February last year. And this was the scandal where Barcelona was alleged to have paid for disparaging social media posts to be made against certain figures in the Barcelona world who were against the president, Josep Bartomeu. Included some current players, like Lionel Messi, kind of a big one, Gerard Piqué, former captain Xavi, ex-manager Pep Guardiola, presidential candidates Victor Font and Agustí Benedito. The allegations were made by a local radio station last February. Evidence was revealed. It showed that as well as defending Bartomeu, this company, I3 Ventures, was behind a number of Facebook accounts that attacked people related to the club that Bartomeu had issues with. There was an external audit. It ruled out Bartomeu's board being behind it, but judicial proceedings were opened when a judge from the 13th Barcelona investigating court, Adriana Gil, accepted a complaint about it. That complaint alleged mismanagement and or individual corruption. And that's where it starts to take another turn. last summer, and we talked about it, there were police visits to the club offices to collect information. Guillaume Balage reports that it's not strictly the social media posts and how they were paid for or what the cover-up was or et cetera, et cetera. There's also a money laundering issue to this, per Guillaume Balage. That has not been widely publicized, so we'll try to get to the bottom of that. Dermot Corrigan of The Athletic, who's reported a lot on this over the last year, just hiring consultants for social media dark arts is not a crime. Dermot says it's potentially not even a problem. When you do it in this way, it is. The legal problem is the cover-up because they tried to hide who paid for it. That's the situation. They tried to hide where the money came from to get this thing done. Now, this morning, Spanish police entered the stadium, entered the offices. They have searched people's cars even. It is related to Barçagate. There is more around it. You've got all the stuff going on with Barcelona. It's madness. Not just Bartomeu arrested. Former CEO Oscar Grau, former head of legal Roma Ponti, Bartomeu's assessor Jaume Masferrer. They've all been detained by Catalan police, according to reports. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, the club has now issued a statement on it. I don't know what this does for Lionel Messi's future. I don't know what this does for Barcelona, who actually is playing somewhat decently these days. I don't know what this does for anything going forward, but it's another black eye less than a week away from a presidential election.
Spokesman for local police told ESPN this morning, quote, "Arrests are taking place, but we cannot give names. We're in the process of carrying out an operation at the moment with agents from the Financial Crimes Unit," end quote. So that's all that you're getting from the police at the moment.
Okay. Barcelona's statement, I mean, isn't going to be too detailed, I'm assuming, because these people do not work for the club at this point, although the club's offices are being searched and things are being checked on all of this. Presidential candidates have had things to say about it. Freixa, who is the probably third in line in the presidential election rankings, he cited Liverpool's statement of "you'll never walk alone." I know others use it too, but said that people were being unfair to Barca and targeting them and blah, blah, blah. That seemed weird. Joan Laporta has spoken on it. Nothing really shocking. He says, it's not good for Barcelona. Yes, it's not. It's a bad look. No matter, these people are not involved with the club anymore, it's still a bad look. Victor Font, who was one of the people who was targeted by these posts, I have not seen anything from him on it just yet. There was a presidential debate yesterday, and it got pretty heated between the three of them. Laporta, who is a former president, currently leads the polls. He was accused of not having any real project ready to go day one. Font was accused of lying throughout his campaign. Laporta labeled Freixa as spiteful. There's been posters put up on all of them. It's what you would expect in a presidential election going into the last week.
Oh, and I anticipate that it might just business might pick up just a little more among the three of them from here in the final days of an election. That's my gut. Considering it's an election, we know how elections are wired. Considering the debate and how it went, I anticipate that the volume is probably going to get turned up in the next couple of days too.
Oh yeah, no, for sure it will. We'll keep you posted. I'm sure there will probably be more while we're doing the show this morning, but that's where it stands right now. The former president's arrested or at least being detained. A lot of other people who used to work for the club are being detained as well. The club's being searched. Stadium's being searched. Offices being searched. Cars are being searched. It's a bad situation. It's not just about the bad social media posts. It's more complicated than that. It's the cover-up of it and potentially other things involving money laundering, et cetera. So don't get distracted by, it was just because they paid somebody to say bad things about Messi on social media. There's more to it than that. So
yeah,
we'll keep you posted as it goes. But there will definitely be more as the day goes on. Let's move on to another bit of controversy from the weekend because, man, that's what the soccer world's all about these days. Yeah. Referees. let's start with, people have lumped it into the VAR conversation. It is not the VAR situation. To me, it's not. It's a referee mistake. And there's a couple layers to it that we will get to. First off, thank you, Ron Digital, for your subscription. You are awesome. Thank you in the Twitch pitch. And send me a message, Ron, if you don't automatically get your Discord invite. We'll get you sorted out. If you're a subscriber on Twitch or on Patreon, you can join our Discord, and the conversations continue after the show and in between shows. And lots of fun and hijinks and shenanigans, and all of that's in the Discord. But subscribers on Twitch in any form, subscribers on Patreon in any form, you can get into the Discord. If you don't have your invite, please let me know. All right, let's get into this referee thing from West Brom and Brighton. If you were listening to the Saturday morning show, you had no idea what was going on.
No.
John had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what was going on because it was a really weird situation. So it's a free kick for Brighton, and yes, you can take a free kick quickly, absolutely. But there are things that a referee generally does when you're preparing for a free kick. The closer you are to goal, the more things you have to do. It's more complicated. Dale Johnson, who is a must follow if you get into the referee weeds on this stuff, Dale Johnson, ESPN, he had a great breakdown of this. You run the process that referees go through. So you have to, you're checking the wall. You are checking the goalkeeper. You are checking to make sure everybody is ready to play. Again, the closer you are to goal, the more things you're checking. Quick free kicks are generally taken in like the middle third and the defensive third, where you set the ball down real quick and play it short. That's not what these are. Once you start that process, and this is not really in the laws of the game, but once you start you see referees do it all the time. Like, you set the ball down, you set the wall, you hold up the whistle, and you're like telling everybody, hey, it's on my whistle. You're checking the goalkeeper, you're checking everything, you blow the whistle, you move on. It's kind of logical that once you start that process, you're waiting for the whistle. Brighton went ahead here, and the referee got caught. And he blew the whistle. Inadvertently is not the right word for it. He blew the whistle. Was the ball in the air on this situation when he blew the whistle the second time?
Yeah.
So
and they were trying to gauge whether or not it had crossed the goal line at that point.
Okay. So referee Lee Mason doesn't realize. Actually, sorry, he did blow the whistle to start the kick. So that's one part that's important here. But he messed up. He didn't realize the goalkeeper was still setting the wall. So he was a little quick. Now, at this point, you're kind of stuck unless you do what Lee Mason did. Once you blow that whistle to play, you play. And what happens, happens. And if you allowed it to go early before the referees finish setting his wall, or before the goalkeepers finish setting the wall, your goalkeeper's going to be mad at the referee. The team who had the goal scored on them is going to be mad. But that does happen from time to time. We have seen it. Now, what you don't do is what Lee Mason did. He blows the whistle again before the ball crosses the line. So he blows the whistle to stop play. And this is where it gets complicated. The whistle stops the play. The ball was not in the goal, correct?
Correct.
So then he makes it worse by blowing the whistle while the ball is in play, not for a foul, but to go back in time. And he allowed the goal after he blew the whistle and the ball wasn't in the net. Okay. Then he asks the VAR, like, help me, please, somebody help me, help me. I've blown this whole thing, help me, fix this, please, somebody, to find a way.
Yeah.
So then the only thing the VAR can do, and the VAR can check any goal-scoring situation, so that is true. The only thing the VAR can do is say, you blew the whistle, the ball wasn't in the net. So, it's not a goal. You have fun explaining this to everybody and dealing with it, but yeah, I'm done here. The ball was not in the net. It's no goal. Have at it, boss. So, what he should have done, I think Dale Johnson explains it well. You blow the whistle inadvertently at that point. You should have been waving your arms frantically. You should have said, we weren't ready. We weren't ready. It's my bad. I shouldn't have blown the whistle. We're going to retake the kick right here. Done. That would have diffused it. Brighton would have been ticked off, but that would have been logical. By allowing the goal, he dumped every bit of kerosene he could find on the fire that he had created. If he had just said, we're going to retake it here, my bad, they weren't ready, you know how this goes, it's my bad to retake it here. If he had done that, he would have dropped the fire blanket over the fire. Instead, he got the kerosene out and dumped it all over it. And it got worse. It's absurd. Now, then we go further because he made it even worse. VAR, and people have yelled about VAR in a situation, and I get it. This is not a VAR situation. This is a referee situation.
Yeah.
The referee has to decide how to restart the play. VAR doesn't tell you how to restart play. The referee has to do it. Now, the fair thing is a retake of the kick because that's what he should have done in the first place.
Yep.
What he could have done is a drop ball where the ball was when he blew the whistle. And he would have had to figure out how he wanted to do that. Because you could have dropped it to Brighton because they had played it last, but you're going to drop it to them in the 6?
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. You could have dropped it to the goalkeeper and basically wiped away the free kick, which wouldn't have made sense either. He at least did do the right thing, and they retook it, which they should have done originally, but they shouldn't have done it the way they did it, and they shouldn't have made it worse. Good job, Lee Mason. You blew it. You should not be doing games anytime soon because that is a horrendous game management mistake. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the 4th for Liverpool and Sheffield United, and he removed himself from that position.
Good. You have to because that's a shocking error. You can't allow the goal. Like, that's the thing that I think some people maybe don't get. You cannot allow the goal off the free kick because the whistle blew. It's like that situation with the Cruz Azul game where the referee blocked a shot that was headed towards an open goal. You can't give the goal. Even though it was headed in that direction, you can't give it. When I've seen it, God, what league was it? It was a second division league somewhere where, it's one of those, the goalkeeper's way out, its ball's headed to the open goal. The ball boy comes running out and clears it. You can't give the goal because the ball didn't go in the net. You can't assume that it would. I know we can all guess that it would, but you can't do that if you're a referee. So he can't give the goal. That's impossible. By blowing that whistle while the ball is in the air and doing it the way he did, he blew it. If he had blown the whistle and frantically told everybody, hey, my bad, inadvertent, we shouldn't have taken the kick, we're going to do it again, my bad, I screwed up, my bad, cool, all right, Brighton, hey, I'm sorry, I really apologize, take it again. If he had done that, it would have been okay. It would have been bad, but it would have been okay.
Yeah.
By allowing the kick, blowing the whistle in the midst of it, then allowing the goal, then getting help to take the goal away, that's when he just kept making it worse. And no, this is not a... like, oh, well, if this referee's bad, I think Coco threw this in. Like, oh, he could call MLS games. I've never seen an MLS referee do this. No. This is a bad ref. He made a mistake. And look, Lee Mason's calling games in the Premier League. He's not a bad ref. That's probably not fair. But he was a bad ref on that day, and he made a horrible mistake. And it's one of those mistakes that you got to do a lot of things to overcome, and you got to rebuild your reputation. It happens in leagues all over the world from time to time, but no, that's not an MLS thing. That's not a Premier League thing. It's a individual thing. He made a horrible mistake, and he made it worse by panicking, I guess. Not good. Okay. Now I want to go into another referee situation, and I am going to take an angle on this that I think it shouldn't be surprising because I don't really play favorites here, but I think in the Manchester United-Chelsea game that the referees ultimately got the call right. Stuart Atwell did not award a penalty on I believe it was a free kick from Rashford. Mendy punches it kind of awkwardly. It's bouncing around. You've got Hudson-Odoi. Oh, I can't remember the Manchester United player who's right there fighting for it.
I think it was Harry Maguire, but don't quote me.
I'm not sure. But they're both going for it. It could have been Maguire, but it might not. And the ball touches a hand. It might have been Hudson-Odoi's. It might have been the Manchester United player's hand. And the replays were not exactly clear. I didn't think. I think it was inadvertent. I think you could have argued that if Hudson-Odoi touched it, that the Manchester United player hit Hudson-Odoi's arm into the ball. Not intentionally, but just the way they're jostling for the ball. I'm okay with it not being a handball. I'm okay with it not being a penalty. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is 100% wrong. He says 100% it should have been a penalty. I don't think he should say that. Asking about understanding the decision? No, not at all, especially when they stop it and he walks across to watch it. For me, you can see it's a handball, but you think it's our player who does it, and they, the Chelsea bench, are shouting it's a handball for our player, and then look at the video and it's taken 2 points away from us. First off, it's not taking 2 points away from you because you would have had to convert the penalty. Second off, it was not clear, and of course Chelsea's bench is going to yell about it. Chelsea did something in the pre-match that we'll talk about here in a minute too. That's a different story. That doesn't give you this justification, in my opinion. I like Ole. I think he's wrong here. It happens. I think he's wrong. I think Luke Shaw was horribly wrong in his comments after the match. Horribly wrong. In a post-match interview with Sky Sports, he said that Atwell told Harry Maguire. So he didn't tell Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is saying hearsay in an interview, saying that the referee told Harry Maguire, the captain, that awarding the penalty, quote, would cause a lot of talk about it after. Luke Shaw is probably going to be sanctioned for spreading hearsay about something in an interview and undermining the integrity of the referees. Can't do that. Can't do that. We've talked about some of the magic things that'll get you sent off. Saying the referee is intentionally not calling something because of whatever reason, or he's a cheat, or whatever, you don't have to curse. You're getting sent off.
Yeah.
You're in trouble for questioning the integrity of the referees. I think Luke Shaw's going to be in trouble for this. Solskjaer said it's concerning. I think Ole should not have said anything. He said exactly, talking about Shaw's comments, exactly. Well, I didn't say it, so I don't want to cause controversy, but it's not right, is it? Ole probably needs to be fined as well. Mm-hmm. Can't do that. Now, why Ole was so fired up, this doesn't justify it in any way. He should be cutting a check. Luke Shaw should be cutting a check. Chelsea, on their website, before the game, did what we've talked about it with the New York Red Bulls before a match with Atlanta. We've talked about it with Jurgen Klopp before matches with Manchester United. We've talked about this before. What do you try to do? You try to put the seed in the mind of the referees that, hey, Manchester United gets a lot of penalties. Hey, look at Harry Maguire. Lots of penalties. Woo! Red flag, yay! They did that. That's... I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, it's not breaking any rules. It's somewhat disrespectful. Yeah. It is gamesmanship. It's did it influence the referees? Well, I would hope not. But that doesn't give you the excuses to say and do the things you did. I did not think it was a penalty. I watched it. I was actually watching it without sound, so I was not hearing the back and forth about it. I was watching it and watching the replays over and over again. It was not definitive. It was not. Johannes, I totally agree. Like that kind of stuff, it's a tactic. Everybody does it. Phil Jackson did it in the NBA. Johannes points out. You get football coaches talking about it, like, watch this. Oh, this team gets away with all this. I mean, it's very common. It doesn't give Ole the right to go in on this. And, yeah, this is one of the first times that Ole looks like he's losing his cool. And there's no reason for him to be that way. They're on the road at Stamford Bridge. They get a draw. Look, they would have loved to have won this game, but it's not a horrible result. It's not. To me, there was nothing in the replay to show it absolutely was a handball as it should be called, which takes us to another topic in a second. I mean, I don't know what you thought about it, John, and watching it live, watching it on replays and all of it, but the call is difficult. My biggest issue is Luke Shaw's comments afterwards that had no place to be said, and Ole kind of losing it over the call, which was not a cut and dried call, in my opinion.
No, I think that in looking at both contacts, the Callum Hudson-Odoi contact, and I know that folks are sitting there in their analysis and they're going full Zapruder film after the fact, and you see Hudson-Odoi's left hand up.
Well, you also see
the ball's on top of it.
You see the Manchester United player hitting Hudson-Odoi's arm at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like, it hit his arm. I mean, it hit his hand, but was his hand pushed into the ball?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you can't go full Zapruder film in the analysis and go, well, yeah, it was a handball. It has to be looked at in a manner that you can take the context of the situation and view the contact from the Manchester United player, see what the body from Callum Hudson-Odoi is doing in response, and as he's been bumped and is moving forward, yeah, your body's going to do certain things. It's just a natural reaction of your body to sit there and lunge forward. And if it just so happens in that inadvertent contact that your hand hits the ball, then for me it's inadvertent. Same with the Manchester United player that makes the contact after the fact, because I think it hits Odoi first, then the Manchester United player on the shoulder.
Well, no, and that's not the same thing, John. Remember, attacking handballs are not looked at the same way as defensive handballs. Now, it didn't lead to a goal-scoring opportunity, so there's nothing to immediately call, but attacking handballs don't have the same considerations.
So, but, I mean, just in general, for me, looking at the contact that was sent on Hudson-Odoi, the body's going to respond in a certain way. And I think that folks are sitting there and trying to analyze that frame by frame and sit there and there's that definitive shot, there's that still of the ball on top of Callum Hudson-Odoi's hand.
That doesn't tell you anything.
No, it doesn't. And that's my whole point when I was looking at it. It's like, okay, so you've got a still frame. Good for you. It's a great photo for Getty. But for me, it was inadvertent contact, and I would have washed it away. For me, it wasn't a handball. And I think that, to your other point, I think that Luke Shaw and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer better be getting their wallets out and cutting checks or doing Venmo or whatever you're supposed to do. And I think that part of it for me, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is the fact that they've only scored one goal in 7 games against the Big Six, where they've they haven't won any of those. And so I think that it's probably another element just in frustration against those Big Six teams that I think it's underlying. I don't think it's a primary, but I think it's probably part and parcel to it too.
Look, you can throw shade at Ole for his record against the Big Six. He's in second place, like that, and that's why I feel like any pressure he's feeling for this right now is a little absurd. They're in second. They're in second for a reason. They've only lost 4 times this season. Yeah, they haven't been beating the top teams. They haven't been losing against them either. So I think that's a silly thing. And I know our resident Liverpool fan is pointing at Ole. I get it. Manchester United is 7 points ahead of Liverpool, and it's not just because of winning the games against the Big Six. It's just they're having a better season. It happens. So Manchester United is further ahead than I thought they would be this season. I thought they would be pushing for a Champions League spot in the conversation for 4th. I didn't think they'd be in second through 26 games. But that doesn't justify, I think, Ole amplifying Luke Shaw's hearsay that is questioning things. Look, if you've been on a field in a professional situation, in a high-level situation, referees have to say things in the context of a game to manage it. You want to take it out of context and you want to then talk about it afterwards, sure, you could do this with any game in the world. referees probably say some things that you'd be like, wow, he said that? Yeah, he probably shouldn't be reffing anymore. Well, did he manage the game by saying it? Oh, he did? Okay, cool. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Go be near a touchline during a game. Hear what the fourth official has to say to people sometimes. It happens. To take it out of context and say it that way and try to use it as some big conspiracy, no. Luke Shaw and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer need to pay some fines for that, and it's a bad look for a club that is having a really good season and should not be falling apart right now when they're in second place. And I don't think they are. I think that the pressure got to them, but they can't have that happen on a regular basis. So let's go to the next thing about this, because it gets to the handball conversation, which is another huge element, because what's a handball anymore, right? We have this conversation all the time. Well, Friday, IFAB, annual general meeting. Laws are set for 2021 and 2022 seasons. Good timing. Proposed clarifications to the handball law. These are proposed clarifications that have already been approved by technical and football committees. They will be put to a vote and should be approved. IFAB admits you need further clarification on what a handball is. Now, what is it? I don't know. Should we go in the direction that people who are arguing for the handball and a penalty for Manchester United, should we go in that direction? Because I don't think Manchester United fans would go in this direction if this hadn't just happened. Are we going to, it touches your hand as a handball. If it touches your arm below the shirt sleeve, it's a handball. No questions asked. It's a handball. Doesn't matter about intent, doesn't matter about anything. It touches it, it's a handball. I don't want that. I do not want that, and I don't want a difference between attacking players and defensive players. I don't want that at all, because the ball could be deflected from the distance between the camera and me into my hand and give away a penalty. And my hand could be right here, and it could hit it, and yeah. I don't want that. It's a deflection from 3 feet away? Deflection from 2 feet away. It bobbles up. I mean, no, I don't want any of that. The things I'm looking for, intent, and did you gain an advantage?
Yeah.
These are the important things, and it's a scale. And look, it's not an easy element. You know, the whole thing with attacking players, gaining an advantage. If the ball deflects up into somebody's arm who is in a natural position, there's nothing they can do to avoid it. And it doesn't really change anything, because if it didn't hit their arm, it would have hit their chest and they would have been able to settle it. I don't want that being a handball. But if the attacking player gained an advantage from a more inadvertent handball and they score a goal from it that they might not have scored otherwise, then that's a referee decision that they need to make. This is tough, because I don't think you can make it black and white. Dale Johnson, in his thread, says, I'm told the proposed clarification to handball would make it clear there's no offense when the hand or arm is close to the face for protection or part of the natural movement. Now that helps you a little bit, because some have said that doing this, putting your hand up in front of your face and the ball's headed at it, should be a handball. I'm okay with not having people getting blasted in the face.
Yeah.
If you're protecting yourself, okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with
that. Because right now it's hand, arm, away from the body, outside the body line. This is what is handball, right? This is penalized for handball. It's away from the body, outside the body line. It's leaning into the path of the ball. Clearly leaning into the path, that's part of it. Hand, arm above the shoulder, and then we got the element that we were getting into with the deflection. That's not a goal scoring opportunity if it's accidental. If the player scores a goal off of a goal scoring opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's where we are right now. The self defense element for me, this should not be a handball. That shouldn't. I'm not a fan of, like you said, I'm not a fan of something from short range hitting me square in the grill and busting my nose. And, that's a natural reaction for the person to put their hand up and sit there and go, like, as you're watching on the Twitch pitch, it's a natural reaction to protect yourself. I think that anything to protect yourself shouldn't be considered a handball because, once again, you're looking at it. It's not a move to gain an advantage.
Yeah,
it's protection.
yeah. It's a small aspect of it. I mean, that's not the issue. Like, yes, that should be in there. Protect yourself. But that's not what we're all freaking out about, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on that aspect. That hasn't really come up in a big way. It's a good addition. They've got to find the line between intent. They've got to find the line about gaining an advantage. They've got to figure this stuff out. They have to, and it has to be more clear. And I think they should. I think the referees should have the ability to make a judgment call on this, because you can't make it black and white, in my opinion. Then you need training. Then you need guidance as to how you want it called. Because that's the thing that I think we leave out of this conversation all the time with these things. Like, you have to create the laws of the game. But then, as we have had the discussion about offside and, is he impeding? Is he, creating an advantage? Is he in the line of sight? You can't define every single thing in the actual laws of the game. Like, situationally, you have to give some guidance. You have to show some examples. I am perfectly fine going forward with what happened in the Manchester United-Chelsea game not being a handball because it felt completely inadvertent. There was no intent. I'm good with that. But let's give a little bit of clarification about this is not going to be a handball because of X, Y, and Z going forward.
Yeah.
These are things we need to do going forward to make the game better, and so everybody can understand it. Commentators, pundits, fans, everybody needs to be able to understand. Players need to be able to understand this better. And this is a really difficult one for IFAB. They have to, take advantage of what happened over the weekend and talk through that situation directly. Talk through the other controversial ones. Handball and VAR and all these things, it's not only an EPL thing. It's not only an MLS thing. It's not only a Copa Libertadores thing. It happens in every league. VAR in general, for me, is still good. I know sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you want. Sometimes these situations are complicated. VAR gets more right than it gets wrong. The decision on the handball, VAR, the process of it, honestly doesn't have much to do with it, in my opinion. It's a judgment call. Mm-hmm. And you used the information to make as thorough of a judgment as you could, and the referee decided it wasn't a handball. VAR didn't do anything wrong. VAR really had little to do with the Brighton situation. Like, people are yelling about VAR in both of those, and VAR really isn't the problem with them. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting on Friday, see what comes out of that. So we will keep you posted on the IFAB, AGM, and everything there. Do we have any tweets about what we've talked about so far this morning?
Yeah, we got a couple.
Okay. And Twitch pitches, you guys have questions about, and we'll get into, I know there's been a question about Sacramento. There's other stuff on the board for sure. But if you have questions about the handball, VAR, Barcelona madness, all of that, please throw them into the Twitch pitch now. We're going to take a few right now before we wrap up hour number one.
Yeah, Michael Head, I've been critical of Pro. To all those who say that pro refs are the worst, please bookmark the Brighton situation. Also, someone, please give me my 90 minutes back from Chelsea Man U match yesterday. BORING, period.
I didn't think it was that boring, really. I thought both teams were kind of going for it at times. I mean, you didn't have any goals that happened from it, but I don't know. I didn't think it was boring. Now I want to look at how many chances and shots and such were involved in it because I didn't look at the stats. I mean, you had almost 30 shots. You had 10 on target. You only had one big chance, so maybe a lot of shots that were not of the greatest of quality. But, I mean, Chelsea had 6 on target out of 18. Manchester United had 4 out of 11. Felt like there was action in it. I'm not just looking for goals for it not to be boring, but, Chelsea needs to win that game. They're at home. Manchester United would have liked to have won the game, but they get the point on the road. You take it. I didn't think it was boring. Domer says it wasn't boring. It lacked in the final third. Frustrating more than boring. I could see that. That's maybe the better terminology here. I thought there was action, so I wouldn't call it boring. If there's action, I'm not bored.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating when there's action, though, for sure.
And then Nathan this morning, as he's trying to be as unbiased as possible, that was his disclaimer.
Yeah, we
in
talked
posting
about this. Go ahead.
Manchester United's form against the Big Six is boring with no goals from open play in those matches. 5 points from a possible 21, with those 5 points coming from 0-0 draws. How is that different from West Brom?
Oh, come on.
Gravy game?
No, not even. Come on. That's come on, man. Sometimes you got to take the Liverpool hat off when you tweet. How is it different than West Brom? We just went through 4 shots on target. When was the last time West Brom had 4 shots on target in a game? Was it 1950? I don't know.
Yeah.
5 points against the Big Six. Well, somehow they're in second. So they're beating everybody else. They're not beating the top teams in the league. What about the teams that are below them? Where are they losing games? Where are they dropping points? I mean, it's not just trying to defend Manchester United, but they're in second for a reason. They're doing pretty well. Can they do better against the top teams? Absolutely. And that's going to be the thing that will ultimately decide Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future down the road. In my opinion, they're a couple spots ahead of where I thought they'd be this season. I didn't expect them to be having these kinds of pressure-packed conversations now. Next year, 100%. Next year, you go out in Champions League the way you did, that should be unacceptable. Also, you're expecting more spending here, too. So they should have another incredible talent in the team next year that would even raise the expectations higher. Next year, they should be competing for the league title, which means, yes, they should be doing better against the Big Six. But Manchester United and West Brom, that's like seriously comparing. Let me take. Who do I want to compare this with? It's like comparing John's cooking to. I will go with Alton Brown because he's local, but I could go with any person who has cooked for a large public event compared to John's cooking. And yes, John's cooking is the Big Sam in that analogy.
Okay, yes, no doubt.
Bland and tasteless.
There you go. Nathan says I left off his first part where he says, if playing substance and style is just as important as points on the table, e.g. Bielsa and Leeds, Ole is just painting over cracks, right?
No, style's not defined by goals. That's something. Hey, we're going to have to get used to that here in Atlanta, guys. Style is not defined by how many goals you score, and that's why I don't think boredom level is defined by how many goals you score. Style is the way you play, and I don't think Manchester United plays a boring style. West Brom plays a boring style. Mm-hmm. No way around it. Newcastle plays a boring style. Brighton does not play a boring style. Brighton does not play a boring style. Their results are not good, but they do not play boring soccer. Newcastle does. West Brom does. Fulham does to a lesser extent. Manchester United does not. Manchester United can be better, as every team below Manchester City can be. But no, style, You cannot define style by goals. And even if you did, I'm going to ask, who has the most goals in the Premier League this season? What team? The boring one, Manchester United, with 53. Manchester City has 52. Nobody else is over 50. So, no. They can be better, and that's going to, again, be that next step. He's going to have to be better in the big games against top competition. Absolutely. That part, 100% accurate. But no, stylistically, You can't compare results and style. You can't compare goals and style. Those are two completely different things. You can play great soccer and not score. You can play great soccer and not win. And again, this is going to come up in Atlanta this season because this is going to be a team that will be establishing and really playing on style. Vélez did not score a lot of goals last year in Gabriel Heinze's last season there. They didn't. They didn't score much at all. Not from a lack of trying. They had a great defense, not because they were boring and defensive. You can't define style by numbers and outputs. keep that in mind because I have a feeling it'll come up in a few months.
And then the last, there are two other talking points, one on the field, one off. Chris Hutchison says, EPL 2020-2021, lackluster or insipid?
Neither. Actually somewhat interesting below Manchester City now. I mean, it's not lackluster because Manchester City is insanely good and impressive. So, I mean, even just them, I'm not going to put lackluster. It's not lackluster or insipid for me with the race. Manchester United, Leicester, fighting it out for second and third. Okay, kind of yippee, but 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, decided by 6 points. West Ham in 4th, all the way down to Aston Villa in 9th, 45-39. Mm-hmm. And now we have a relegation scrap with Fulham on 23, Newcastle on 26. Sorry, Alex. And Brighton on 26. Sorry, Sapoon, I guess, as the our Brighton friend who was very excited about Brighton, who has played well, but cannot find goals to save their lives. They're producing chances, they're producing shots, they're playing well, they're not finding goals. Also, they should play Moises Caicedo.
Yes.
Burnley might be in that conversation, too. They're only 5 points clear of the last relegation spot. So, no, I don't think it's lackluster or insipid. I think there's absolute storylines in it.
And then the last Premier League talking point for the moment comes out of Sky Sports, and Tafka links to it. Apparently, Steven Gerrard is reportedly being lined up to replace Jurgen Klopp as Liverpool boss, with increasing doubts over the German's long-term Anfield future.
Yeah, silly season. Have fun. They should not hire Steven Gerrard if Jurgen Klopp leaves, which is a big if right now, because the job that Jurgen Klopp is being linked to just leaving for has somebody in it right now, and whose future was committed a few months ago. That could change after the Euros, but anyway. And no, they would not go to Steven Gerrard next. They should go to Julian Nagelsmann. That would be the person they would call first, in my opinion.
Yep.
I know, Steven Gerrard, Mr. Liverpool. He's going to win a league title in a league that has two teams that fight out for it, and one of the teams has punched themselves in the face so many times this season they are still bleeding.
Oh, so bad. Nathan buttons up his point. He's saying, and that's his point, Man U's in second. They beat who they should, score plenty of goals. When the matches matter, they don't step up. That's all I mean. Oh, well.
Yeah, but they weren't expected to be a title contender. Nobody had Manchester United as a title contender this year, and nobody realistic, in my opinion. I think most people had them as challenging for Champions League. I think a lot of people didn't have them as Champions League. I mean, look at the table. I think most people would have said your top four would have been Manchester City, would have been Chelsea, because people were talking about them as title contenders, Liverpool, obviously, and Tottenham or Leicester or Manchester United or maybe Arsenal, but to a lesser extent.
Right.
Everton was an outside thing there. I had them as a team that could be challenging for Europe, but I don't think anybody realistically had Manchester United ahead of Chelsea and Liverpool in the title race. So what do teams have to do? They have to figure out how to win the big games. That's the next step of that. So they have to get better results, no question around it. But a matter of style, yeah, they're not West Brom. That's style's not defined by results. It's just not. You can't do that, because if that's the game that's going to get played, especially in Atlanta, then you better get ready to criticize when Gabriel Heinze has a 1-0 win or a 1-1 draw or a 1-0 loss where they have 20 shots and have 10 on target and have 75% of the ball, and the other team has 2 shots and 1 on target and they score a goal. That's what can happen. And it doesn't mean your style or your quality of play was bad. Now, Manchester United has to play better in these games. Understand that. But style is not defined there. It's a slippery slope, and we got to be careful about it. That's all.
Goal.com is reporting in the last 15 minutes that Zlatan is out for both Europa League matches against Manchester United because of the adductor injury from the weekend.
Well, Lottie frickin' God!
Karma, man. Karma, buddy. Karma. I don't care. He's not playing against Manchester United. It's should have been suspended for a while anyway because of what he said to Romelu Lukaku.
Still waiting for the apology. There's
not going to be one. He doesn't think you should even talk about these things. Clown shoes. Anyway, questions on the Twitch pitch about the topics of hour number 1 before we move on. Match of Sunday, the Arsenal drubbing of Leicester. Absolutely. That was unexpected. 3-1 for Arsenal winning that. We going to question Brendan Rodgers and his performance in big games? Although there is a report now that is trying to link Brendan Rodgers to taking over at Barcelona if they move on from Ronald Koeman, which is not completely and utterly ludicrous, but isn't going to happen. Arsenal with a big win. Big
How
win.
many healthy people does Leicester have these days?
I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, they have 8 that are injured currently. And
how many teams are in that situation?
A lot. Liverpool's in it. Leicester's in it. You got key folks who are dinged for other sides. But, if you ask Brendan Rodgers, pretty much the first thing that he mentions is the fact that he's got 8 dudes who are injured. But when that challenges who you are, it makes it a lot easier for folks to sit there and collapse on Jamie Vardy. And you double team him, you cut off the supply lines, you don't score, you end up with results like you had on the weekend.
Well, Leicester scored first, and then they watched it fade away. So, I mean, they even had the lead, and they lost it. So, it's a good win for Arsenal. I don't think Leicester's injuries take away the quality of the win for Arsenal at all. Gareth Bale, back, doing his thing. Thank you, Commando. Tottenham with a 4-0 win. It's against Burnley. But you got to play Gareth Bale as much as possible right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Hot hand.
You can play Harry Kane, Gareth Bale, and Son up front as your 3 with Lucas Moura behind. Maybe Dele Alli playing behind that front 3. Ooh. This is what Tottenham should have looked like a long time ago. Was it because Gareth Bale was not healthy? I don't know. Was it because of Dele Alli's attitude? I don't know. Was it because Jose Mourinho was being stubborn? I don't know. Somebody needs to find out that answer because this is fun Tottenham again. And they need to play this way to get the best out of the talent they have. And yes, Real Madrid is thrilled with Gareth Bale's goals. Absolutely and utterly thrilled with these things. And they will be cheering him on very loudly from Madrid. Everybody says any cook against John. Bobby Flay, that was on my list. Could have went Giada against John in the comparison.
See, but
anybody.
That's just
anybody.
I'm losing all those battles.
Really? I'm shocked. I'm blown away that you would say that. That's
this is what I'm saying.
Incredible, John.
Throw out all those names.
Nick Alifi, Mike Conti. I mean, anybody who, yes, and I'm not a good cook by any stretch of the world.
But you experiment and you come up with things.
I'm not afraid of salt. That gives me the advantage.
Who said I'm afraid of salt?
I did. You don't put it in your rice. You don't put it in your pasta. You don't want it on top of anything.
Because I'm afraid of it because I opt not to have it in my dishes?
Yes.
Therefore, I'm afraid of it?
You're afraid of it.
So what's the seasoning version of getting a dog?
Putting salt in your pasta and your rice. That's what it is. Flat out.
It's not there. That I just don't do it. Patty doesn't do it.
I just eat bland things.
I eat bland things. Actually, Patty made her jambalaya over the weekend, sir.
Patty does not make bland things. No, you make and eat bland things by choice.
That is true.
Anyway, more from the Twitch pitch. A lot of talk about a scoreless game, Atlanta United and Columbus playoffs 2017, which, it was one of the best scoreless games I've ever seen. Perfect Tommy with the hashtag free Caicedo, 100%.
Yes.
Sam Williamson, as a Manchester United supporter, is 100,000% for Stevie G at Liverpool. Coco says, would Klopp be willing to leave Liverpool for Bayern? I don't think he's going to have any opportunity to take the Bayern job. Hansi Flick will stay. At some point, would he? Maybe. Possibly. I think he will probably do the German national team job next. I think he wants a little bit of a different kind of job, so a little bit less stress. We'll see. But I don't know when that is. I think he finishes out his contract at Liverpool. I'd be surprised if he walked early. Okay. Airborne DJ says, as an Everton supporter, I am even more for Stevie G on the other side of the park.
Uh-huh. There you go.
Yeah, everybody's having fun with this one. A lot of talk about XG and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We do not listen to Zlatan on this show. That is accurate. Rodgers doesn't belong at Barca. Fourcard is freaking out. Ragamuffin says Bale just got injured, I assume. That's also possible.
Or he's playing golf.
He could be out on the golf course right now. He might have pulled a hamstring on his backswing. I don't know. Fourcard says his 5-year-old's a better cook than you.
True.
That about sums it up on the Twitch pitch. So we have delayed it enough, given you time to refresh and get ready for your big moment, the big read. Our good friend, Steve Apolinsky, Indicator GA. John is going to tell you all about him right now.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go to get your questions answered, and it is said legal firm, Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. How do you have communications, do you ask? Well, there are a couple different ways. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve at aa-legal.com, or you can give him a call, 404-377-9191. Get a free consultation that way. Or you can go on the World Wide Web. In the bar, the top of the screen, large device or small, you type in aa-legal.com. You hit enter. You hit return. You hit the arrow key, whatever advances your screen to the homepage of Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and there is a bevy. There's a boatload. There are reams of information about Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and how they can assist you in your wrongful death and serious injury matters. If you still have questions after all that information on the homepage, a pop-up window has popped up, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. And you can get your questions answered that way if you still have questions. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in both the Eastern and Central time zones, in Georgia and Alabama. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. It's Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
That was super long.
It was?
Yes.
It doesn't feel that way.
Well, you started freestyling in the middle, and it got kind of weird.
I was freestyling?
Yes, you were freestyling. You couldn't remember what the bar was called, and you just called it the bar. I thought you were literally talking about...
What is it, a task? It's the task bar or whatever
You paused on it, though, because I thought you were trying to figure out what to call the bar. Or if you were just talking about being at a bar and then going to the website and calling up old Steve from the bar. I don't know what you were going
call up to. Steve from the bar. You know, it's like, hey, bartender, can I borrow your phone? I need to call Steve Apolinsky and Associates, LLC.
Something like that. Nice pacing at the start. You got a -1 for a couple different ways. A couple equals 2, according to Thomas, which is accurate. -1 for an awkward pause. Would prefer saying address bar instead of just in the bar. +2 to the internet for periodic freezing. Domer, that's on you, I think, possibly. You got a +1 for bevy. You got a -1 for going overboard with the bevy boatload. You got a +1 for the bevy, a -1 for the boatload. That was a very controversial inclusion.
See, adding elements.
What are reams? It's 2021, -1. You got a 7.17. You got an 8.5. You got good start, clear pronunciation, professional gestures, -1 off script for using reams, -1 timing at the end. Overall, an 8, good for a Monday. -1 in the bar. Are we drinking while receiving legal consultations? -1 for bevy, -1 for boatload, -1 for rushing at the end, -1 for being long. 4.2145. That's one of the better scores from the East German judge.
Yeah.
Thomas says Steve is a member of the bar, so that's really confusing.
Yeah. See?
Accurate. No, not C. It's confusing. That's not something you want to say. Yeah, see, I was confusing. KFC says -2. 4 card is a 4, below average. Joe with a 7.9. Ragamuffin wants the Piano Man to play a song. Okay. Sharif with a 7. A 4.3. The East German judge went with the 4.3.
That's a Russian judge at that point.
Bar, so many meanings, +2, 9.33. -2 for the heavy use of synonyms. -1 because I'm irritated. Jason Nix is irritated with a 7.
Uh-oh.
Stick to the script, sir. 5.
So people want me to stick to the script, and then they don't want me to stick to the script, and then I get a 5.
I'm just giving you the raw feedback. A fantastic read. If John cut this promo in 8 Mile, Eminem is walking off the stage, according to Nicolifi. I think Nicolifi is into the Aperol spritzes at 10 o'clock in the morning. 7.5. 7. Don't wait for the beat, John. Live the beat. That's a good line. 6.5. A 4. You should know by now you can't make everybody happy with your read. So the outrage, you should know by now.
Yeah, I know. Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay.
From the men's national team, U.S. Soccer, the schedule has been locked in place for March. They're going to be facing Jamaica March 25th in Wiener Neustadt, Austria. Kickoff set for 1 o'clock on ESPN2, Unimas and TUDN. The second friendly is the Northern Ireland friendly. That one is March 28th in Belfast. And so those dates have been officially locked in for the men's national team for March.
So the addition is the Jamaica match.
Right.
That's the real headline here. They're playing Jamaica along with playing Northern Ireland. 2 games in Europe. So Jamaica in Austria on the 25th of March.
Yep, 1 o'clock Eastern time on a couple of networks.
On a couple of networks.
That I've already discussed, ESPN, Unimas, and TUDN.
Yes. That's 3 networks, John, so that's not a couple. We've already
It's more than a couple. The triad.
We've been through this.
It's a trio of networks.
Just saying, we've already been through it. We just talked about a couple.
Couple. 2.
Yes, and Wildchar, yes, we talked about that off the show, and I don't give fools publicity in addition. So we talked about that at the beginning. If you want to go back and look at it, go for it. Not angry with you, Char. I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about stupid takes anymore that get people kicked off of committees. No more.
Right.
Anyway, let's get into some other news. I'm sure people who have been watching people's Twitters and travel updates have seen Lautaro Giannetti have some goodbye meetings and meals in Argentina, and just so happened to be on a plane, and on his Instagram stories and pictures, there were American flags involved. I think the city Atlanta might have been mentioned. I think you can connect the dots on this one. So I'm thinking timing-wise, he should be on the ground, I think. And I don't know what the actual process is for protocol and everything going on with quarantine and how fast he can join training. I believe he can do individual training first. I'd have to be there separate from the team that has gone through the quarantines. So I don't know. I'm guessing by the end of the week or maybe the beginning of next week, he'll be able to join the team for training. So that should be moving along fairly quickly. Still waiting on the Venezuelan winger who has been linked. Still waiting on Rocco Rios Novo to see where he's going to end up and how that's going to get done. And now it looks like, Giannetti should be, unless he was really orchestrating a very impressive disinformation campaign, he should be in Atlanta either now or very, very soon.
Pay no attention to anything that I've posted on my social media. It's all shiny stuff. All the shiny stuff. No, I'm looking at I'm looking forward to seeing Giannetti and looking forward to seeing how he integrates in and look, we talked about it last week. it's great to talk about games and getting closer to games and practice and getting, warmed up and all the games behind closed doors and seeing all the video that Atlanta United's putting out with hindsight and, players work. Look, I'm just jacked about the season, man.
We don't have any games to talk about yet, so we got to talk about travel stuff. It's coming. This is not there yet.
Jacked up. Let's go.
Settle down. You might need something to settle down there, buddy. Decaf, try it. Might need to switch away from.
I already started the morning with that. I'm heading to the Mountain Dew now.
Well, that's dangerous. I'd love to know people's takes on the kit reveal on Friday. It was a fun watch. I did not go. I was watching from home. I talked to Kevin Egan afterwards. He was just jazzed to do it, and kind of a different feedback from a crowd with car horns involved, which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Jeezy heavily involved. That's always fun for me.
I'm digging Jeezy.
You're what?
I'm digging Jeezy. Can he do all the videos or be a part of all the videos going forward?
What do you like about Jeezy? Tell me, please.
I just loved seeing him. It's like, are you going to doubt Jeezy when he's telling you this kind of stuff?
You might. There's some people who would.
Don't doubt Jeezy.
Gucci Man might, although I think they're cool now after their versus battle. But okay, no, that's cool. I was just surprised you were so excited about Jeezy.
I'm down with Jeezy.
You're what?
I'm down with Jeezy when it comes to jersey presentation.
You're down with Jeezy?
Don't doubt the man. I'm down with Jeezy.
Okay, I'm just gonna let that one go because that's just hilarious. I don't know what people's takes are on the kit. It's fashion. Some people like it, some people don't. It's like John's Reeds, Some people like them, some people don't. I will be curious to see how popular it is, how many sales they get, those kinds of things. I saw a lot of people posting pictures after buying them on the day, which is cool. I did like the black shorts and black socks more than I thought. I would have been interested to see it with red shorts, but the all black look is sharp. I like it. Joseph cracked me up when he said he was fat. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. The laser show stuff was very, very cool. Some of the like wide shots from further out, from up high, were awesome looking. The one that Joseph posted was very cool with his signature pose. Laser show on the side of the stadium and everybody there watching. That was pretty sweet. So it was a fun event to watch. I hope it was a fun event for the people who were there. It's the best you can do in the midst of a pandemic to try to keep everybody safe, to do a drive-in jersey unveil. I hope it worked out for everybody. I think a lot of people got theirs that night, which was cool. I think people were delivering them to the parking spots, which is pretty sweet. So they are in the team store now. I think people were buying them yesterday. I think Fender was one of our listeners who I saw buy one yesterday. So a lot of people liking them. A lot of people are saying you're pumped up and saying you might need the Diet Mountain Dew already.
No.
Four Card says it's growing on him. Not a triathlete, likes the kit. Coco loved the kit reveal, looked fun. Great to have Joseph back. Just great to see Joseph in a good mood, having a good time. Also, and I know it just gets kind of taken for granted at this point, Joseph embracing speaking English and being willing to do it, and it's awesome. I wish I could speak Spanish in front of hundreds of cars who are going to be honking their horn at me. I can't. Joseph being able to do that and then having fun with it, awesome. Just awesome stuff. Really, really great representative of the club and of the city. Michael Rees does not want you to settle down. He is equally pumped on the upcoming stadium. Doesn't want me to rain on your parade. I was just taken aback, Michael Rees. Maybe that's a better way to put it. I was shocked by John's excitement. And yes, we need the I'm digging Jeezy drop, Jason Nix. We do need that. Because John is not Jeezy's target demographic at all.
That I'm down with Jeezy and that I'm digging Jeezy.
Yeah, just keep saying it. Just keep on saying it.
Chris Hutchison says, having had a near complete team makeover, might as well have a kit makeover as well. All of that said, he liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Like it's different. It's not the traditional striped kit, and I know that bothers some people. It's the third primary kit in the club's history. still early enough to experiment a little bit. As a kit, I like it. I think some people's issues with it are not so much about the kit, it's about it's not like the other kits. So I get it. I totally get it. But it's fashion. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. You're not going to have a kit that makes everybody happy. It's impossible. Somebody will complain about it. Just like when John nails a read, somebody will say something about it. Usually the East German judge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The East German judge is usually going to say something. If everybody thinks that there's an 8 or a 9 in there, the East German judge will punch out a 4.328751.
Will, I wish I had the Talladega Nights Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew sounder. I might have to add that one to the list because John gets jacked up on Mountain Dew from time to time, or just jacked up on excitement about Jeezy and kits.
Excitement.
5 Takes said, I'll raise my hand and say I was very negative about the kit. I'll absolutely own that, but seeing it in person and throwing it on, I like it. That's how it goes a lot of times. You know, you see a picture, you see a mock-up, and it's like, nope. And then you see it on somebody, like actually moving. It's like, oh, that works. That happens a lot. It's all good 5 Takes. It's no worries. Again, it's fashion. If you don't like it, it's okay. It doesn't mean you hate the club. Just if you don't like a certain shirt, it's all right. It's not a big deal. Martha, we watched it over the stream, was impressed with the event. Not easy to pull off during a pandemic. That is absolutely true. So many different things can get out of whack when you're doing these things remotely and you're trying to produce these things and you got all kinds of moving parts. It's tough. Just impressed it came off and impressed they were able to get it done. Impressed the weather held off as well. Ricky, good watch. Kit's been growing on me. Seeing it on Joseph and Miles sold me. A friend got me one since they were there. Very cool. Katie says you need to calm down. You need to stop talking. You're getting out of hand. I think it was about the Jeezy stuff. Yeah. And Ricky, I might agree with you that Gucci beat Jeezy on the verses. It was close though. I'm more partial to Jeezy than Gucci, I think, in terms of like a versus battle, because I think Jeezy's got more hits. But so much of those versus battles, which have been one of the unexpected bonuses of the pandemic, it's about how you stack your hits. Like if you don't have a lot of hits, you got to use them at the right time to win that round. If you have a bunch of hits, you still have to be strategic with the order you put them in. You know, do you come out of the gate with your biggest hits and just pick up clean, easy points? Do you save them for later? Because Jeezy's got some songs that Gucci can't compete with, in my opinion. Gucci's got a couple that if you waste it against Put On, for example, if you throw Icy against Put On, like that's a toss-up for a lot of people. You want to use it at the right time. I have to go back and look at it. I think I had it as a toss-up in general, but I did see a lot of mixed opinions about who won the versus battle. Ricky's also yelling, "Stop John," and I agree.
Meaning stop John in general, or just stop, John in relation to...
All of the above. I've been told to drop you from the call. Yes. Good stuff. Good times. It was very cool, and it was cool to see as many people out as they were able to get out. People have ordered it from MLSstore.com. Strummer John with a question that I don't have an answer to, and we'll see if one pops up in the Twitch pitch. Does the season ticket holder discount work on the jersey on the website or just in the store? I know it's in the store. I don't know if it works on the website, Strummer. We'll try to get an answer for you there. Coco says, Joseph's willingness to get better at English since arriving in Atlanta has been a great show of his love for the club and the fans, and I'd throw in the city. It's awesome. It's just not easy. It's just so hard to do, and you know, it's one thing to say it in an individual meeting or in a 1v1, but to say it on a microphone in front of a crowd, that's tough. That's really tough. That's a whole nother level of confidence. I mean, when you're Joseph Martinez and you do what you do, you're a pretty confident dude, but that's still a whole nother level of confidence. That's impressive. Yeah. People are hilarious. People are very, very funny. Martha says, I never imagined Jeezy and Kevin sharing a stage together. That's Atlanta. That's accurate. We've had Jeezy on the Countdown to Kickoff a couple times. Cool dude. I still need to get one of the snowman scarves. Every time they go on sale, like, I can't get there. They're super limited edition. I can't get it. Jeezy was trash talking me because he had the snowman scarf. It's his scarf. I didn't. He's like, you need to get this. I'm like, yeah, I gotta work. I need somebody to get me one. So next time we do a snowman scarf, somebody's got to get me one so Jeezy doesn't trash talk me, please. Por favor, man, I don't want to get trash talked by Jeezy again. Cool dude, though. Cool dude. It's been awesome to have when we've done these countdown to kickoffs and we've had Jeezy and we've had Waka Flocka. They've just been like super cool about doing it. They've been like knowledgeable about what's going on with the team. I mean, Waka's a huge fan. I mean, he's talking about like the way the midfield was structured and stuff. Blew my mind. But it's been really cool to see that embracing of it from Atlanta royalty in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, these are people who are massive in the city who have put their kind of stamp of approval on the soccer team, and there's not many cities that have that. Look at the reactions from around Major League Soccer to the kit reveal Friday night. Look at the reactions from people in other cities, and you'll understand kind of how lucky we are to have how it is here, because you don't have that in other places. Uncle says, would prefer if the stripes were a little bit bolder, but the kit overall is way better than people are giving it credit for. I think that vibe's changed. I think more people like it now that they've seen the full kit. I haven't seen as much negativity about it since it was fully unveiled. That initial mock-up, and it was a mock-up, it wasn't even a picture, the stripes were super narrow, and I think that soured a lot of people. Once we even started to see the pictures, I thought it looked better because the stripes were thicker. You could go bolder, you could go thicker, absolutely. Have to see it. But no, I like it. I like the full all black. I like it. Jam says I could do without the butt stripes. A lot of people don't like that. I don't. It's not really a big thing for me. I don't know if they're on the replica. I think last time that kind of continuation of the stripes was not on the replica. I don't know if people have seen the differences and posted the differences. I have not seen that. Yes, Nick Leaf is 100% correct. It is way easier to put Jeezy in front of a mixed age crowd than Gucci. That is true. That is 100% true. What do you have, John?
No, just when you said butt stripes, I was pausing there for a second.
Do I need to get like a Beavis sounder for you
so.
when we say things like that because you turn into Beavis?
I think so.
I mean, I don't really have a good one. I guess this.
Dude, sweet.
That's the closest.
Butt stripe. He's a butt stripe.
That's butthead.
Oh, that okay. So, butt stripe like that.
There you go, Beavis. Good job. I did not see the D'Angelo and Friends versus Mr. Fantastic. I needed to because, man, that dude is talented, and man, that dude is mysterious. Can we get some more albums, D'Angelo, please? Por favor. Alex Pacine cannot name a single Jeezy or Gucci song. That's okay, Alex. Put On, because it's been everywhere, and it was used in the video, and I would probably say Jeezy's biggest song. I think that's fair. It's classic. And I know early on the supporters were doing a chant to it. I don't know if that stuck. I don't think it did. It'd be cool to see that brought back. I think you could do some pretty sweet things with that.
Apparently, Nathan Pugh was in a punk rock band called the Butt Stripes in junior high.
I'm going to think that is not accurate. Thinking that might be fake.
You think that's a work from Nathan? That is a false statement.
I think that is false. Absolutely, I think it's about as false as Brendan Rodgers going to Barcelona. Ricky says "Put On" has been killed by radio. It has. I mean, it's just such a big song. I think it's his biggest, but it might not be your favorite one because it's been played so much. That happens sometimes. Martha wants a Jeezy scarf. I do too. I do. Coco says, I need a scarf guy. And Coco needs a scarf guy as a non-ATL resident. I do.
Yeah.
I can't always go get the scarves when they're limited.
You need a designated scarf purchaser. You need a DSP.
I need one. I think I know some people who I might have to employ as scarf people because the next Jeezy scarf, I'd like to get it. Okay. Lots of comments on the kit reveal, which is very cool. When will we see a third kit? This summer, PD, is the idea from everything I've heard and read. It's been designed. It's done. It was designed a while back. Atlanta's going to be the only team with a third kit, although there were some rumors at one point. I think Toronto might have one recently. Like, they're not going to be the only team, but Everybody's still saying they're going to be the only team, so I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I want to see what it looks like, and I want to see the whole initiative around it, because I think it's going to be a kit with meaning, not just a cool kit to sell shirts. I think it's going to have more to it, so I'm excited to see that. Yeah. Hutcho says my red striped Kangol will go well with the new kit. If the stripes were a little thicker, it'd be perfect, but yeah, I don't think they got any design tips from that brand of, or that style of a Kangol hat that I got lucky and got on clearance. It was one that I guess wasn't as popular, but I caught it, and it's one of my favorite hats, and yes, it will go very well with the new kit. Let's see. Hashtag butt stripes don't stop. Yes. Hashtag butt stripes.
Well done.
John giggles again.
Oh, dude, sweet.
Because butt stripes.
Yes.
John turns into a 10-year-old.
Tafka posts a gif of Milhouse from the Simpsons seesawing by himself, and he says, when you're an Atlanta United fan and you don't follow or care for any rap, hip-hop, or R&B.
But that's this is Atlanta, though. And this is the thing about it. You don't have to be a huge hip-hop and R&B fan to appreciate the vibe. The vibe with Atlanta United works because they also include other elements into the vibe. But yeah, Atlanta is going to have a heavy hip-hop influence. And I think that's really important in a lot of ways because, look, like it or not, people generally, when they think of soccer, they don't think of hip-hop. They don't think of anything other than minivans and orange slices in American soccer. That is your basic stereotype. So I think Atlanta United going very specifically into a different vibe than most teams and having a different kind of pregame playlist, it's a statement. And I think it's worked because I think it has made Atlanta United more open to the whole city and not just the stereotypical soccer crowd that, look, can be extremely white at times. It's just a fact. I think Atlanta doing it the way that they have, involving Jeezy, all of it. I mean, Shawty Low in the pregame with Dano as the song for Atlanta United's lineup coming out. Like, stuff like that is important. It's a statement. It's not done by accident. It's not done because the song came up on somebody's playlist and was like, ooh, that's perfect. No, it's intentional, and I think it's worked. I think if you look around the stands at an Atlanta United game, you see that it works. And Atlanta United has the most diverse crowd in Major League Soccer. That's awesome. And no, you don't have to be a huge hip-hop fan. But I think you get the vibe, and you can enjoy it. You don't have to go listen to the songs at home on your own, but yeah, you can vibe to them in the stadium. I think you can know that Jeezy's a big star, and Jeezy's a big, figure in Atlanta, even if you don't listen to his music. That's okay. I think sometimes when we get into like these kind of questions and conversations about culture and this and that, it's not that you have to love everything. Like I'm there's plenty of music that I like and don't like. But I'm not going to tell you you're a bad person if you don't like the music I like. Music is like fashion. Everybody has their takes. We can go back and forth on favorite song. We can go back and forth on best Atlanta artist. We can go back and forth on best era of Atlanta music. I mean, so on and so forth. But it's the embracing of the music. It's an embracing of Atlanta and what Atlanta is that I think has really served Atlanta United well. And it's such an important element that makes the club special and makes them the most diverse club and fan base in American soccer. And it should be a model for the rest of American soccer because the game needs to be more diverse in this country. There's no way around it. People should not feel like they are not welcome in soccer in this country. And at times, sadly, people do. And you can take people in whatever direction you want. It's race, it's gender, it is sexual orientation, it is all of it. And I think what you're seeing here is a team that is not just issuing a bunch of statements about things, but actually doing things to change that. That's what it's going to take. We can all make a statement. We can play the statement game. We can give awards to who had the best statement. I want to know who's got the best actions. I want to know who's doing something about it. I love what Atlanta United's doing from a vibe, from a culture perspective, but I also equally love what they're doing with working with soccer in the streets on the Station Soccer Project. I love the initiative they have right now, the Georgia 100, where they are helping build 100 mini pitches between now and the 2026 World Cup around the state. I love the work they do, around pride and in the LGBTQ community. I love what they do to make the game more inclusive. We need more people in the game from different walks of life. And you have to keep at it, and you have to be genuine with it. And I think the club has made a very strong effort from day one to be genuine about building a club for all.
Yeah, Tafka says, for sure, I dig the vibe, and I love that Atlanta United has transcended the sport itself and infiltrated the Atlanta culture as a whole. That's awesome, but he lacks the knowledge and familiarity to enjoy it at that level.
Oh, totally. No, and that's completely fine. I mean, I'm the same way when we get into, Latin songs around it. And I want to learn because I'm a music geek. Like, I hear something musically and I'm like, oh, that's kind of different. What's that instrument? Where are they from? What kind of style is that? What's the influences? Like, that's how I am with music. If you're not, and I totally understand a lot of people aren't. I think you can still, as Tafka says, like, appreciate the vibe. And it feels very Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Atlanta games sound like Atlanta. There are a lot of teams in this league. You could hear the game day ambiance, and I'm talking like in-stadium music and stuff. I couldn't tell you if it's Kansas City, and I'm just pulling cities out. I'm not throwing shade on these teams and what they do. I couldn't tell you if it's Kansas City, if it's Dallas, if it's Portland, if it's New England. Like, it all blends together. Atlanta, it's Atlanta when you hear some of the songs in the stadium in Atlanta. You hear that randomly, and you're like, yep, okay, that's Atlanta. Got it. Cool.
No, right there with you. And I'm with a lot of folks on the timelines, both in Twitch and in Twitter. It's like, even if I don't know the artist, even if I don't know the song, I understand the vibe, and I love the vibe that's being presented as a part of that whole experience on a game day and as a part of the presentation for the team as a whole.
It's not easy. This stuff takes time. I mean, it just takes time to change culture. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to happen overnight. And the game is not going to be more inclusive because of a statement issued today. The game is going to be more inclusive by more people embracing inclusion and going out of their way to make it more welcoming. And also going out of their way to put their actions where their statements are. And that's what I'm hoping for that continues to happen here. Mazzano says, I think Adidas did better with the subtle additions to other kits, but I don't see them with our kit. The Nashville kit, the fuzzy Tennessee State image, the waveform on the back of the neck. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the overly sublimated stuff. I think they specifically didn't want that with this kit. I think they wanted it to be black. A black kit with the red to pop and not have anything that would distract from it. I'm assuming that was the design element that they gravitated to. It can work. It cannot work. I think with this kit, it works to not have that stuff. I think that's what they were shooting for. Lots of conversation in general, and this is I didn't think we were going to get into that today. It just happened, and welcome to Soccer Down Here. If you're new to it, sometimes I just start talking randomly. J-Dub says, it makes Atlanta have a soccer culture that's specific to the city, makes our team stand out in the worldwide soccer stage, gives us something nobody else has. The best clubs that have that kind of feel are the ones that feel like where they are. Barcelona has that. And we can talk about Barcelona's past presidents and the things that they do and all that, but it doesn't take away from Barcelona feels like Barcelona. Liverpool has a vibe about Liverpool. I think Borussia Dortmund has a vibe about where they're from. Some don't have that as much, and that's okay too, but it's just harder. I think if you're if you're able to lean into who you are and where you're from, you're going to get people connected deeper. You see it with the teams in Argentina a lot. You see it with teams in South America. It's just part of brand building, part of building culture, and it takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. Michael Ruiz throwing shade at Minnesota for singing Wonderwall after games. The story's good on that, Michael.
Yeah.
Oasis did not have a connection to Minnesota. It would have been cooler to sing Prince or The Time, or we could go through a lot of different minutes. If you want to go alternative, you could go The Replacements or Soul Asylum or Husker Du. Like, you've got a ton of different stuff out of Minnesota. You pick somebody from Manchester. Okay. But the story is legit, and it's created something that has stuck, and that's cool. I would like to see them embrace Prince more, because Prince is the best. Just saying. Martha says, I always love the comparison of freestyle rap and the creativity around hip-hop with the freestyle play and creativity on the soccer pitch. It's a really cool thing. I think Curtis Jenkins of Footy Mob had a really eloquent take on it. Curtis has a lot of eloquent takes on a lot of this, because he gets these intersections better than I do and better than a lot of people. The thing that I've always taken away from Curtis that we had a conversation about one time was just like the thing that Atlanta is known for, and this is not a soccer thing, this is just a city thing. Atlanta's really good at adapting. Atlanta's really good at getting down to business and saying, all right, we've got X, Y, and Z to work with. Let's make it cool. And that's what Atlanta's done a good job of over the years. In a lot of different fronts. And soccer's been a part of that. It's a diverse fan base. It can continue to get more diverse, which is a good thing. And it is a passionate fan base. And there's so many different elements to it. And that stew gets better and better and richer over time. So it's very cool. And I'm just glad that the team feels like it's a representation of the city. Alex Piscine, I like hip-hop, but don't listen to much, except the occasional crossover stuff. But I absolutely shake my ass at the games. Alex Piscine, ladies and gentlemen.
And your deadpan read of that put it over the top.
Yeah, I try. I do my best. Sam Williamson says, so ours is rap, which is awesome and works, is Nashville country music. Not a good mix for me. Nashville is not just country music. I think Nashville having the anthem with Judah and the Lion is cool. Like, it works for them. Would it work here? No, I don't think it would. It works for them, and I think it's fine. It's being embraced. They shouldn't run from country music. Country music, it needs to get more diverse, as I think is kind of obvious with some things that have happened over the last few months. But one person doesn't define country music. Country music is far more diverse, and especially in ways of thought, than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It was when I was growing up. It's far more diverse than it was then. Again, it takes time to change. So don't run from it. Don't be afraid of Nashville being the country music capital of the world. Embrace the people who are making it a better place. Embrace the rock that's in Nashville as well, because there's a lot of that. Embrace what Nashville is. Just like Austin should embrace what Austin is. Just like Portland should embrace what Portland is. That's how it works. If you're a cookie-cutter team and you're not tied to the local community, you can fade really easy. If you're locked into what your community is, I think people will support you during rough times. Let's see. Uncle No Pockets. Crossing my fingers for an Inter Miami 2 Live Crew collaboration. Yes. John, do you know who 2 Live Crew is?
Yes, I do.
You seem really afraid by saying that.
Well, I just, with Uncle Luther and the University of Miami, and as the Florida State grad on the show, that anything that has to do with anything orange and green, I have an adverse reaction to.
No.
Jeez.
And we do have some other comments about some other stuff, including Inter Miami, by the way.
Okay, we'll get there in a minute. I'm going to finish a couple more things here. Five Take says, it's like what Killer Mike said this past summer. The city's cut different. I agree. It is in soccer as well. Miami being 100% Pitbull music, okay with that. That's not bad. Some of it anyway. That's not bad. People hate on Pitbull a lot because he got so big. People didn't hate on him when he was on his way up.
Yeah.
Man, people started hating on him when he got popular.
That's usually how it runs.
That man is a ridiculous self-promoter, and I give him credit for it.
Oh, and he's got a NASCAR team this year with Daniel
I did not
Suarez
know that. That's very cool.
Yeah, they were big at Daytona. His presence was huge at Daytona, and for the first 3 races of the year, it's been Daytona, the road course at Daytona, and Homestead. And there have been a lot of efforts to put the recognition of the team out there with the driver Daniel Suarez. So yeah, Pitbull's into NASCAR this year.
Very, very cool. Jarrett throwing shade because that's what Jarrett does. The only time Oasis has been used right was when Atlanta played Champagne Supernova after the U.S. Open Cup final. I almost screamed in the press box. I did scream in our booth, and I think I terrified Mike. We were waiting to do a post-game show on 92.9, and they played that. I literally was screaming. That was amazing, and I was laughing my head off. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Yeah. No, nothing to do with Brunswick stew. Ragamuffin. No, we don't talk Brunswick stew on this show because it really confuses John. Okay, I think we've got most everything caught up. I know I missed a few comments. There's a ton of stuff. People hating on Pitbull again. There we go. It's what happens. All right, what else do we have on Twitter?
A couple of Atlanta United things, but since you were talking about Inter Miami, let me go there.
Go there quick, and then we'll do the Atlanta stuff, and then we'll finish up with a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, Cuppers said, what was it you were saying about Beck's needing to hold daily press conferences to downplay expectations for this season and let everyone know it's a building year for Miami? Well, apparently, Miami had a press conference on Saturday that included Inter Miami co-owner Jorge Mas. And Jorge Mas said, quote, "We want to be feared and respected both, with a great product on the field and respected in the way we go about it and do it. We aspire to be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. We want to host a home playoff game. We want to make a run for an MLS Cup. With the type of things we're doing on the roster, I think those are very achievable and attainable goals for this year."
Oh, that last part's where he blew it. Everything was fine until he said this year. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jorge Mas. I am going to take a quick look at the MLS Eastern Conference, and I will give you a thought on who is better than Miami right now.
Yeah, this is going to be a list.
Eastern Conference, and we will work backwards. Actually, you know what? First, before we do that, let's talk about today what Miami's lineup would be, as best as we can tell. Phil Neville under in the England women's national team, and that's what I'm going to go on, played a 4-3-3. Did it in a way that Atlanta, I think, will do a lot this season with one holding behind 2. That's what he did with that team. It suited that team. I think it possibly could suit this team. So I will go off that assumption for now. Goalkeeper, probably John McCarthy. Back line of 4 right now, I'm assuming, is Patrick Segrist, LGP, Ryan Shawcross, and Nicholas Figal. If Shawcross can't start every game, then Figal moves to the middle and Dylan Nealis starts at the right side. Gregore is the holding midfielder, I think. Blaise Matuidi and Rodolfo Pizarro as your 2 attacking midfielders. Wingers, Lewis Morgan is 1, and the other one's up for grabs. It could be Carranza, it could be Josh Penn, it could be Matias Pellegrini, and Gonzalo Higuain up top. You are weak at outside back. You are really good in your midfield if those 3 can work together, and I think they can. I think Gregore makes it all makes sense. Center back's okay. I mean, if it's not Shawcross, it's Figal. That's not bad at all. But outside back, woof. One wing, possibly woof, or at least it's a question mark coming in. Lewis Morgan, outstanding. And Matuidi and Higuain need to be good. Okay. That is their lineup. Now, who are they better than? They're not better than Philadelphia. They're not better than Toronto. They're not better than Columbus. They're not better than Orlando. They're not better than New York City. They're not better than Atlanta with Atlanta's lineup. They're not better than New England. They're not better than Nashville. That's who I have, they're not better than. Like
That's more than 3.
Not even close in terms of 3. They can compete with Red Bulls.
Yeah.
They can compete with Montreal. They can compete with Chicago. They can compete with D.C. They should be better than D.C. They should possibly be better than Cincinnati, although that's not a lock. No, they're not good enough right now. Now, he did say they're going to do these other things with their roster. Okay. Maybe. But that lineup, and then you go past the starting lineup. Okay, depth. Outside back, you got none. You don't have another left back on the roster right now. You don't have another right back on the roster. If you move Figal to right back, you've got Nealis as a reserve right back. Reserve center backs, you'll have one of LGP, Shawcross, Figal. I would assume it's Shawcross generally, but it could be going down to Jairo Quinteros. It could be Christian Macoun. Okay. Midfield, depth, you've got Victor Ulloa, solid. You've got Jay Chapman, solid. George Acosta was injured last year. Wing depth, you've got Breck Shea. You've got whoever doesn't win on the other side. You've got Edison Azcona. Forward depth, you've got Carranza, you've got Robinson. There's not a ton of depth either. So no, I think Miami is just trying to get in the door.
Yep.
Just trying to get in the playoffs this year. If they get into the playoffs, that's a good year for them. Unless between now and April 17th, they're better at outside back and probably better on the other wing from Lewis Morgan. That's 3 players they might need in starting lineup to be a top 5 team in the East. Top 6 team in the East. Maybe a top 7 team in the East.
Yeah.
Jorge Mas, like, I know you're excited. You're excited like John this morning. But, dude, you're going to wreck your team's expectations by saying these things. You are not that team right now. Miami, you could argue, is at the bottom with D.C. at the moment. Like, the way you're not with what you have now, because there's not really a whole lot of rumors about these big additions coming at the moment. The way you are a top 3 team with what you have right now, Gonzalo Higuain plays like he did 5 years ago. Blaise Matuidi plays like he did 5 years ago for the whole season. Same for Higuain. Pizarro plays like he did to get himself into the Mexican national team a few years ago. Lewis Morgan has an even better year than he did last year, where he was one of the best players in the league. Ryan Shawcross turns back the years and allows you to play Figal at right back. Patrick Segrist somehow grows after 2 horrendous starts for the Red Bulls last season at the beginning of the year, to the point that we barely saw him the rest of the year. And somebody else steps up to shock us, out of Pellegrini moving over to the right, Carranza or Robbie Robinson showing they could play on the right wing, Josh Penn showing that coming out of college and Indy 11 that he's a guy who could be a top winger in this league. Those are the things you need to be a top 5-6 team in this conference. If this is your team, I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying it. And saying things like that recklessly do damage. And Jorge Mas should have learned from last season.
Yeah. Also on the board, a couple of Atlanta United. Well, actually, yeah, let's go with the Atlanta United things. Barnabas Prime had a note about the scheduling for the men's national team, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Tafka says, according to Transfermarkt, Ezequiel Barco has 2 full seasons left. The what-ifs get really interesting if he doesn't do enough to garner real interest from Europe this year. Does Atlanta take a lowball offer of like $7 or $8 million, and is there a club in South America that could come after him? I doubt it. Could Atlanta... Hold on.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why would you want to take a lowball offer of $7 to $8 million? I don't understand why. People have some weird feelings on Barco, and he hasn't delivered as much as I would have liked for him to deliver, but I'm not letting him walk for nothing. And $7 to $8 million, I think, would be a low ball nothing. No, you don't sell for that. You don't. I don't think you'd even consider it. There are teams that could possibly do it, Brazilian teams. Nobody in Argentina could that I could see. River can't. I guess Boca possibly could, but they'd have to sell some stuff. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I don't even know why it would be something you'd want to happen. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I guess it's just this idea that he's garbage and you can go get a million players that are better, and I don't think it's that easy. I think Barco's been very good, but not consistently. And that's the problem. He's got to be healthy, but you're not going to get rid of him for nothing, because if he has a good year, you'll be able to sell him for at least what you paid, I think. We'll see. I mean, the pandemic makes it complicated too, because that does change the paradigm. Before, I thought you were going to get $30 million for him. You won't now. It's just the pandemic's changed it, and his performances have changed it too. There's no way around that. But I think you'd like to get your money back. But you don't have to sell him for a loss. No, I don't think there's this idea you have to sell him tomorrow. I don't get it.
Secondary point question from Tafka: could Atlanta approach Barco with a 1-year contract extension to allow him the full-time under hindsight before having to make a decision? Could Atlanta sway him to sign a new long-term deal at TAMable levels? I think we can all agree Barco on a TAM deal would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the latter parts of that are far more likely. He wants, he's still young. Like, he wants his opportunity to go to Europe. All players who have that ability do. He hasn't earned it yet. But, yeah, I think him extending his year, it'd be better for him to extend it an extra year. But I think he's got, this is where I'm confused, Tafka. Barco's not in the last year of his deal. Heinze's here for 2 years. I think Barco's already going to be here for the whole of Heinze's time.
Yeah.
And I would assume that the plan is for him to have a good year this year and leave after this season, going into the last year of his deal. That's generally how these things go. So that's my assumption of the timeline.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out and he would be interested in re-signing for a lower number, absolutely you'd consider it. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But, yeah. And a TAMable deal, he's not on a crazy salary either, by the way. So, that's definitely doable. The reason why he's a designated player is because of the transfer fee that was paid, not because of his salary. It's not an absurd number. So you can make these things work if you want to, but he's got to perform, and this year's a big year for him, and there's going to be some big expectations for him, because if he's not performing, he won't play, because there's going to be enough competition, and then that makes it more complicated. But if you're Atlanta United and Ezequiel Barco, you want him to perform, you want him to play, so then you can sell him for the best amount possible.
Yeah, Tafka says he doesn't want that to happen, not at all, but if that's all that comes up and the alternative is losing him on a free in 2 years, what do you do?
You would move. Well, see, that's such a hypothetical, because you don't know what this year is going to be, and this year is a great unknown. So, no, if it comes down to it, you're going to get what you can next year. But if he has a year that doesn't result in a decent offer, you would probably want to extend for an extra year to buy you a little more time, rather than take a $7 to $8 million, unless the player pushes for that move to that club hard. That's the way I would think it would go.
And then Tafka with a salary question. He says, what stops clubs in MLS from paying $10 million transfer fees, signing players to, say, $1.2 million, then after that first year, signing a new contract for a little more, but eliminating the transfer fee hit on the player's salary cap calculation?
Because the league defines how these things are measured. You're thinking about it like a independent agency would, when the league is controlling all of this. They're not going to let a team get around the rules that way. They would say, yeah, nice try. That's good. You can sign him to his new deal, but you're not getting away from the cap hit of what you paid, because the league controls that. So, it's just that simple. You cannot like it, but that's the way it goes. The league would say, no, you're trying to bend the rules. You're trying to get around the rules, so we're not going to allow that.
Ezra Packerman this morning, and he asks, would you rather Atlanta win the 2021 MLS Cup or 2021 Champions League, and why?
If I had to pick one, Champions League.
Yeah.
Because it's the biggest trophy you can win, and no MLS team has won it. And also, if you win the Champions League, I'd assume you'd make a good run. Captain Ragamuffin, no, they did not have 4 designated players. The Galaxy did not have 4 designated players. They managed a loan to not have a player count as a designated player. That is very different than signing a transfer, signing a contract, then tearing it up after a year to try to get around the transfer fee being on it. The league also didn't allow them to have 4 designated players and made them buy Giovanni Dos Santos' deal out. So I know the game you're playing, I get it, but that's not how it went down. So no, it is not accurate. The league would not allow you to do what Tafka's proposing. Anyway, I would rather win the Champions League. Like, no question, 100% if I had to pick one, because I think it's a more meaningful trophy and it's a special one. It's not potatoes versus potatoes, Ragamuffin. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's just I would win Champions League because I think you'd be a contender for MLS Cup and you'd make a run if you're that good to win Champions League. I would assume, possibly. I mean, Toronto in 2018 would prove that wrong, but they had a ton of injuries. So I'd take Champions League and take MLS Cup next year if I had to pick.
Then you go to the Club World Cup and you get onto that stage as well. It's just first time ever an MLS team wins CONCACAF Champions League and all the other things that go with it. Bart's note real quick, and this will wrap up stuff on Twitter. He says, I know a lot of people lament and moan when the men's national team, the U.S. men's national team, play non-Mexico CONCACAF teams in friendlies, but Jamaica is a great opponent right now. They're the third best team in CONCACAF and have good Euro-based players. This is good.
Yeah, that's a really good one. No, that's a good get. It's in Austria, so it's kind of weird, but yeah, like that's a really good team to be playing right now, and you're going to be seeing Jamaica's European-based players in that. So yeah, I'm all on board with that. I mean, look, right now you got to get games, and it's not easy to do that. So you take what you can get. This is a good opponent. It's better than playing Slovenia or a random European team just to play random. It's better than Northern Ireland, to be perfectly honest. It's a better game than that. So it's a good get.
We are officially caught up on Twitter, sir. What else is on your mind?
All right, bunch of stuff. Orlando dropped Jonathan Suarez. This was in the news over the last week. He has been arrested over accusations of rape. His brother, Rafael Suarez, as well, arrested Tuesday night. Bond was $20,000. An incident at a Kissimmee apartment. He joined the team on loan, was included in the preseason roster. Obviously, the team has, I guess, canceled that loan, and I think he goes back to the books of Querétaro, but also he could be looking at 15 to 20 in jail, depending on how this goes. So, yeah, Jonathan Suarez, adios. The NWSL has some news. Chicago Red Stars ownership group has added a whole bunch of people because this is the way these things go now. You add 50 different small owners as part of it. Names you would know. They've added a former Chicago Bears defensive end, Israel Idonije. I probably butchered that name. I'm sorry.
Got it. Israel Idonije, yeah.
Cool. I got decent. You have Michael Schofield of NFL lineman fame. You have Sarah Spain of ESPN personality fame. A lot of other names I don't really know, but Arnim Whistler retains the majority stake of the club, but he has added 500 different minority owners.
Yeah. Kendall Coyne Schofield is a women's hockey player, U.S. women's Team USA fame, and married to the NFL player. So she's big in the community up there in Chicago.
Excellent. You've added a bunch of people to that list, which is good. It's also some money right now, which is also good. When you had a year where you didn't have any money come in, now you have some. That's a good thing. So it makes sense. These things are a little weird. I'll see how they play out over time. LAFC is a little different because they had it from the jump. But when you see like these minority shares being sold to like 50 people, what does it actually do? Does it do more than just a press release with a bunch of names on it? Like, oh, Sarah Spain. Okay. Does it do anything? John is looking down and trying to figure out any kind of a response.
No. I was looking at Sarah's very long entry to her Twitter feed this morning about being able to be a part of an ownership group. But no, and that's the thing. It's when you have all of these ownership groups with all of these folks in it, while yes, one person has controlling interest and all that, you wonder about the too many cooks scenario. While all of this investment,
no, I'm not worried about that. I mean, I don't think Sarah Spain is arguing over who should the coach be and should they be fired. Like, I don't think that's at all what I'm not concerned about that. I'm just talking like, does it demonstrably do anything for the club to have a large group of minority owners come on? As Coco says, the too many cooks thing is defined by who's got the majority stake. Like, Sarah Spain's not coming in and making claims to Arnim Whistler, like, you need to do this. It's like, I have this? Okay. Yeah. No. I say no. Thank you for your check. No.
Yeah.
But is it more than just a check? Now, with Sarah Spain, it's a little bit different conversation because she's a radio personality, an ESPN personality. She does talk about the Red Stars, as Ricky Ricardo says. That's great. But the rest, like, what does it do besides diversifying risk, as Tommy says? And besides having a short-term cash infusion. And look, if that's what it does and that's the good element of it, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But can it be more than that? And that's what I'll be curious to see. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you wonder if this is just that short-term cash infusion now and what the level of investment of these folks is going to be over time. Is this going to be a consistent thing, or was this just something for now and you worry about things later?
Well, no. I mean, there's nothing later from this. If they bought shares now, they're not buying more shares later. So no, like, that doesn't make sense.
What, continual investment over time? It's not just the one-time investment. They're not investing more money over time?
I don't know if they are. They bought the team. Like, I don't know if they have cash calls. In a perfect world, they don't. You buy something and it should make money, right? If it's a business.
In theory, yes. Yeah.
If there are cash calls and you are bringing people on to share in the cash calls, that's a very different conversation. Or if you are then going back to them and saying, yes, we have this initiative we want to do and we want you to invest more, well, they're going to say, yeah, that's all well and good, but I want more shares. I want more of a stake. So no, I mean, that's not how it goes. I mean, I don't think that factors into it. If it does and it's a cash call thing, then that's a different conversation entirely. Hopefully they get to a point where they don't need that.
Right.
But, and I disagree with Thomas Jewin. Like he pointed out, not always the too many cooks thing separated by the share percentage. Look at the Atlanta Spirit Group. But that wasn't this. Like that was roughly, and John's going to go off on a tangent, I already know. That was roughly 7 people who had similar stakes.
Yeah, similar.
I mean, you had at least, I think somebody had a little bit more than the rest, but it wasn't.
Yeah, the Boston and Washington guys had more of the percentages than the Atlanta guys.
Yeah, it wasn't one person having the majority ownership of the team and then a bunch of people having small shares. It was roughly the same. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. The Belkin, Peskovitz, that group, the like I said, the Washington, Boston guys had more of the overall. The Atlanta folks had the smaller percentages, but you had folks who were pretty much in the same boat when it came to the numbers.
If you have 20% of the ownership and I have 12, I'm going to feel a lot more empowered to say stuff to you about it should go this way than if you have 51% and I have 1.5.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. And I would hope it's all part of the agreement of getting all this done and all of that. The publicity's good. The name value is a good initial, but what does it do long term? Do you get the long term stuff like Naomi Osaki's doing with wearing North Carolina Courage stuff out and doing things? Is it Sarah Spain talking about the Red Stars on her show? Well, if her audience doesn't want to hear it, that won't work long term. That's not going to help. So, like, these are the things that are challenges, and you want it to be more than just a short term cash infusion, which is necessary. But can it be a little more? That's all I'm asking. Yeah. I'm not down on it. I'm just saying, like, what does it continue to do? Is there more to it that it can impact? That's all.
Right. No, I agree with you there. That's what I'm. It's like all of this investment is fantastic and I love it. But now where do you go from here?
Tofka, yeah, okay, now I'm on the same page with you about the 2 years thing. He is here for Heinze's time. I misunderstood what you had tweeted before. Yeah, you want to figure it out before summer of 22. You don't want him to walk on a free, absolutely, when it comes to that. And if you need to do a year extension, it also wouldn't surprise me if you had an option for one more year, too, on that deal. You might, and we might not know about that. And Transfermarkt wouldn't necessarily know about that either. So that could factor into it. If there's already an option, then no. If there isn't, then yeah, you might want an option, or you might want an additional year to figure it out. That could happen. I could see that. And a lot of it could be down to the pandemic. Look, the market just might not recover fast enough to get as much as you would like to get. And you might bet on, you know what, we keep him here for one more year, we can sell him for more, let's do that, rather than take less money now. We think in a year things will bounce back faster. Which is going to be an interesting conversation on a lot of different players, not just Ezequiel Barco, just in general. It's going to get very interesting. The Red Bulls have added Yuba Diarra, a Malian central midfielder on loan from Red Bull Salzburg. That was announced today. We're starting to see more Red Bull Salzburg loans to New York Red Bulls. That is a good thing for New Jersey and for the Red Bulls. I'm surprised it hasn't happened more, honestly, before this. It needs to happen more. We'll see if they can continue to do that. Other things at MLS today. All clubs are due to report in some form or fashion today. Some are on the field training. Chicago reported early so they could get on the field training earlier. They did their quarantines. Others are reporting to start quarantine, but everybody is starting today. Tomorrow we'll dig deeper into other things around the league. We're not going to do like full season previews just yet because I think teams are still making additions, as we see with the Red Bulls. There's still some moves to be made, but yeah, we'll start taking deeper looks around the league. We talked about the Sacramento situation on Saturday's show. Nothing's really happened since. The lead investor has pulled out. He has cited COVID and his losses to that, which he has lost. I mean, he's part owner or majority owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're not exactly doing great financially at the moment. He did just buy the Neverland Ranch back in December. So he had that money to spend, but had he already made the decision to pull out? And if he did and he didn't communicate that, then yeah, that's not cool. Do they find a local owner to make it happen? They did in the case of the Sacramento Kings. It took a long time. That was a real team that was functioning. This is not. It is a lot easier to say, yeah, we're not going to wait around again because we already waited around for a long time for you to get things sorted out, Sacramento. Hey, Vegas, you got cash. Hey, San Diego, you have cash. Hey, Phoenix, you have cash. Who's got the most cash? Cool, done. I don't know if that's how it goes down or not, but if Sacramento's going to keep this MLS spot, and this is a little separate from the Republic, the USL team, that could continue. The MLS spot might move elsewhere if they can't figure it out quickly, and that's a shame. The Kings were functioning, Nick Alifi. They were actually playing games, let's put it that way. There are not MLS matches being played in Sacramento, so it's a lot easier to say, yeah, no, we're out. Then at least you had to get moving vans in Sacramento to move it somewhere else. So, meh. There was a little bit of revenue being made, Coco, at least. Germany, there are some managers who are not making revenue anymore. They are out the door. Christian Gross at Schalke, massive, huge shock of surprises that his job is over now. And a lot of other people's jobs are over because they've been really bad. They lost 5-1 in Stuttgart over the weekend. They had some kind of a player revolt, possibly, maybe, allegedly. Maybe it was real. Anyway, he lost 5-1, so he is gone. Sorry, Christian Gross. Sorry, Uwe Neuhaus. He is gone from Arminia Bielefeld. 4 losses in their last 5. He had a contract through the end of next season. Not going to see that one out. They did get that draw with Bayern a few weeks ago. That was exciting. Question about can Schalke afford to pay a new manager? I don't know. They might be doing this on a volunteer basis at this point.
Like LinkedIn or something.
LinkedIn, usually people look to get paid when they take jobs on LinkedIn.
It's like maybe a one ad in the local paper. Searching for.
I think maybe the best way to put it would be it's an internship, an unpaid internship to run the team.
You're an extern.
division. Yes. something like that. Werder Bremen has a German Cup match tomorrow that might get called off. Jan Regensburg is a second division team who has had players test positive. They had players test positive on Friday. They played Paderborn on Saturday per league protocols. Sunday had infected players as well. I don't know if it's additional players. Werder Bremen said on Monday on their website that it assumed the game tomorrow would be called off. It has not been confirmed yet that I have seen. Maybe it has since those notes came out this morning, but I have not seen that officially yet. They are not expecting to play. Trash talking in Italy. It happens a lot, and Antonio Cassano is usually at the front of the line to talk trash. He says, Cristiano Ronaldo, talking about CR7. He says, Juventus signed him to win the Champions League, but they've done worse with him than they've done before. They would have won the Scudetto. Without him, it was the wrong project. He'll keep scoring goals because he knows how to do that no matter what. He'll cut in from the left, get the ball on his right foot, fire it in. His headers are unique. But Pirlo wants to build the play, pressure the opposition, and play between the lines, and this means Cristiano doesn't participate much. I think he will have done badly unless they manage to win the Champions League. Is Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus a failure if they don't win the Champions League?
Oh, wow. I would say yes. Just because of all of the level of investment that you put in, he's making over north of $30 million a year. I think that's the number.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the expectations that you have when you bring in a player. Realistic or no, I'm just saying, whether you surround him with the players that you think are going to win something like that, I think there's that internal idea that when you bring in a star, you're supposed to win everything. And so I think that from a lot of perspectives close to Juve, I would say that, yeah, it is a failure.
Was
logical or not, I'm just saying that that's the perception.
Was Andrea Pirlo a failure at Juventus?
Oh, I don't think he's been a failure.
No, I'm talking about as a player.
Oh, as a player?
Well, wait a minute. So Ronaldo's a failure, but Pirlo's not a failure as the manager. Wait a minute. What?
Oh, I know. Like I said, I'm not approaching this in a logical fashion.
You're not trying to make sense?
No.
You're not. You're just picking things to say that are random. So the manager is not a failure, but the player who's scoring the goals is a failure.
We'll get into this tonight. But my notion about Pirlo is this.
Yeah,
in his first year, now this is just me. This is not any of the attachment to Juve or anything like that.
Oh boy.
With Pirlo, I'm looking at Pirlo as learning in progress, and that it's a gradual thing for him, even though I know that there's an expectation level that, it's Pirlo, therefore you're going to win everything out of the blocks because of what you have there. But I think that with Pirlo, it's going to take time for him with the players that you want to bring in so he can achieve what he wants to achieve. With Cristiano Ronaldo, who was there before Pirlo, I'm sure that the expectation level for a Juve fan was that, okay, we now have CR7, we're going to win everything. Now that you're not, and you're getting to a certain point where you're frustrated and you're having issues financially, then do you fish or cut bait with someone
Hold on. How much of issues are they having financially here? Let's not overstate that. They're not Borussia Dortmund situation.
No, they're not Borussia Dortmund, but I imagine that you're going to get to a point where you're sitting there and you're investing all this money and you're not getting the return that you're looking for. So then you're going to sit there and it's like, all right, then therefore, I'm not looking at this from a logical standpoint. I'm just trying to understand it from their perspective. This is my defensive driving course here. I'm trying to think like the other guy.
Well, here's my question. Leave Pirlo as a manager out of it for a minute, because I think he was brought in to build. I didn't think he was brought in to win the Champions League this year. But absolutely. Ronaldo was. But if he's a failure for what he's done at Juventus, was the 2016-17 team a failure? Oh, the 16 team that won Serie A, was that a failure? The 15 team, the 14 team, the 13 team, the 12 team, the 03 team, the 02 team, the 98 team, the 97 team, were they failures in terms of winning the Champions League? The last time they won the Champions League was 1996. at some point, do you start to say, we've had incredible talent in this club, and we haven't won the Champions League since 1996, but we're going to put it all on Cristiano Ronaldo that he's the failure. When maybe you need to look at the institution that has failed and not try to find somebody to blame. Because did you blame Zinedine Zidane? Have you blamed some of these other outstanding world-class players like Andrea Pirlo, who played at the club, were brought into the club, and didn't win the Champions League? Look, I'm not a big Ronaldo fan. I mean, yeah, the points that Cassano makes about the style of play, 100%. You're moving away from why you brought him in. You brought him in to play in a certain way and score goals in a certain way. You've moved away from that. It started with Maurizio Sarri and now with Andrea Pirlo. You need to move on, because another year of Ronaldo next year, as you move further away from what makes him successful, it's not going to work. I agree with that. But to define him as a failure and the move as a failure, I think is a little simplistic, because they hadn't won the Champions League with a whole lot of people before Ronaldo showed up.
Right, but because Ronaldo makes what he makes and is this lightning rod, good or bad, to me, it's the easy way in an argument. You sit there and it's like, oh, because he's the most expensive thing on the shelf, and it's his fault. I'm not a Juventus fan.
No. I'm laughing at you saying that it's the easy way in an argument, so that justifies it. I'm saying that that's a stupid take, because to say that it's the easy thing to say, well, you paid Cristiano Ronaldo a lot of money, and yes, he should have won Champions League single-handedly by himself, and if he doesn't, he's a failure. It's a bad argument. That's what I'm saying. You can make the argument. I can argue about a whole lot of things and say that, it's right because I say so. But it doesn't make it a good, strong argument. I think the problems at Juventus, if they do that, if they brand it was Ronaldo's fault, it was this person's fault before him, it was this great player's fault before him, they're never going to win the Champions League, because it's not down to one player. That's their problem. And sure, they can argue that it's his fault. Cassano can say whatever he wants. Cassano says a lot of things, by the way. Doesn't mean that it's a good argument. Yes, he was brought in to carry them to the Champions League. And then they've made moves since that have walked away from why you brought him in stylistically. So he should go. Not arguing that. But to try to put it on him as the failure, it's not right. It's not his fault. He can only do so much.
I know. But what I'm saying is that people will always gravitate toward that.
I'm not saying that people won't, John.
Argument.
John, that's not what I'm saying. I understand that. I get the gist of how people argue things. I'm saying the argument is wrong. It's not about, yes, people will argue that. You were arguing that, and that's why I said it was wrong, because I disagree that to put it on him is the right argument. Of course people will do it, because that's what we do. You don't want to look deeper at Juventus. You don't want to go back and look at when they won the Champions League last. You don't want to look at how they failed. Yeah, it's the guy that they signed for a lot of money. It's his fault. That's a hot take. That's not an argument. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the argument. So if you want to make hot takes, then yes, I'm going to argue against your hot take and say that it's bunk. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying that it's not the manager's fault, it's the star player's fault, who has produced, by the way. It's not like he's been a bum. He scored goals. He's done his job.
He's carried Juve on his back at times.
But it's his fault, because that's the hot take, because somebody can say that.
Right.
Sure. Doesn't make it a good take.
No.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not a good take.
I know.
But you just keep saying that somebody can make the take. And yes, I understand that.
Yeah. So we both agree that it's a bad take, but it's not going to sit there and keep that take.
I'm asking you for your take. What is your take on this? Oh. Because you started with saying your take was the hot take, and I'm like, no, that's a bad take. And now you're saying it's not your take. But what is your take?
My take, my initial thought in this was to present the hot take. But my thought is that he has not been surrounded with enough folks to get them to Champions League and get them to championships. That's my take in all of this.
I think there's multiple layers to this. One, the Champions League is hard to win, and you can be a great team and have a great team, and Juventus has had great teams, and you can still not win the Champions League. There is an element of a crapshoot to it. That's why defining success only on the Champions League is never going to work well. It just won't. Juventus has been successful because of all those titles that we mentioned in the league, because that is what defines your quality domestically. Champions League, you got to get a good draw. You got to hope everybody's healthy. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go into. You can have a bad day at the office, 2 bad days at the office in a tie and get knocked out against a lesser team. These things happen. You can't define success purely on Champions League. If you do, you're always going to be in this situation. Mm-hmm. So I think it's unfair to put Ronaldo's time at Juventus as a failure. They have not won the Champions League. And now they are going in a direction more towards the modern game, more towards building up play, more towards things that at his age and what he does well doesn't really suit him. So they need to move on. Right. That might not be easy to do because of his salary and because of his contract, but that doesn't make him a failure. I think that part is not correct. I think that's wholly incorrect. That's just me.
PSG?
Well, I think he's going to end up maybe being the plan B to whoever doesn't sign Erling Haaland. Because, I mean, if Ronaldo walked back into Real Madrid next year, it wouldn't blow my mind. PSG would make sense. I don't see him go into Manchester City. I think the only place he would go in England would be Manchester United. Yeah. And that wouldn't blow my mind either, necessarily. I think it's going to be whoever doesn't get Haaland, because everybody's going to go after Erling Haaland first. But I don't think anybody's going to pay a huge transfer fee to get him. And I don't know if Juventus would honestly care too much about that. Because I think Juventus, from a financial perspective, has realized a good bit of money from Cristiano Ronaldo. They've sold a ton of shirts. I mean, they've done everything they can do with him. If they say, you know what, it's best for the team to get that salary off the books at this point, then you do it. Just like Real Madrid's going to have that conversation about Gareth Bale. If they want to go get Kylian Mbappe, they got to get Bale's contract off their books. And they might let him go on a free to do that if they have to. They're going to try to get what they can. There's probably a lot more of a market for Cristiano Ronaldo than for Gareth Bale right now, but it's a challenge. Like it's tough. And this thing about Champions League, like Ricky Ricardo says, if Messi doesn't win Champions League wherever he goes, will it be a failure? I don't think it's been a failure for him to not win the Champions League in a while now. He's a great player. There's other measurements that I think are more important than the Champions League, for me, anyway. I think this is Cassano popping off at the mouth, and I also think it's a hot takey kind of thing, and I just not a big fan of the hot take, because there's been a lot of players at Juventus who haven't won Champions League, and I don't think all of them are failures.
Yeah, and I think that as Juventus gets further away from having the established veteran stars and they're working toward a build, I think that when you're looking at two separate directions here, and I don't think that Ronaldo would currently fit what the idea is with Pirlo and what they want to accomplish in the next couple of seasons.
Now, what Nick Alifi says is a step further from the hot takey side of it. He says Juventus' self-stated goal is that it was Champions League or win or bust. They changed their acquisition strategy to go get him. By that standard, they failed. By their own standard that they created, they failed. But they failed, not he failed, is the way I would say it. It's not all on CR7. It's a whole bunch of other stuff to it. They failed, but to say that he failed, I don't think is
that's a false flag to me.
Yeah, it's Cassano taking shots at Ronaldo, in my opinion. You know, I don't think that's right at all. Again, to say, like, Juventus signed him to win the Champions League, but they've done worse with him than they've done before, talking about in Champions League. So that's all on him? No, it's not. It's just not. That's the part that I have an issue with. And as Ricky Ricardo says, no pun intended, it's just not that black and white. But, okay. Other stuff in the news. AC Milan staying in the mix, 4 points back from Inter. They beat Roma. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, injured. He's out for the Europa League matchup with Manchester United. Shucks. Darn. Sad. Very sad. Groin injury midway through the first half. He played until the 58th. He was pulled. Shucks.
Darn the luck.
Really sad. You included a piece about Gabriel at Valencia. They lost 3-0 to Getafe. They are 14th in La Liga. They are getting close to a relegation battle. And the 30-year-old player broke down and said, it's F and a bunch of stars. To talk about this while playing for a club as big as Valencia is F and a bunch of stars.
Yes.
We have to move forward. We have lots of games left. We have to improve and get Valencia back to where they belong. They were in Champions League last year. They cut costs because they don't have a whole lot of money. Danny Parejo, gone. Ferran Torres, gone. Rodrigo, gone. Coquelin, gone. No money came in to replace these guys. They're spiraling towards relegation. It is not good. I am asking you, John, to do research to see if there is an update on Miguel Almiron's injury at Newcastle. That has been requested from the floor.
I will do clicky clacks, so going on mute. And Nathan Pugh,
yes,
when we was wondering about what we thought about the Chinese Super League.
Getting there. We'll talk about that real quick before we wrap. Atleti got a win. So they are 5 points clear right now at the top of the table in Spain. Real Madrid plays today. They can move back a little closer, but they play at home against fifth place Real Sociedad. Atleti has a game in hand. They play on Sunday, Real Madrid and Atleti. That will be a massive game on the weekend. Real Madrid's won 5 consecutive in all competitions. They should take care of business against Real Sociedad, but it is not a guarantee. Real Sociedad has been good this season, although it has slowed down a little bit for them. Juice box numbers, Real Madrid's plus 115, draws plus 250, Real Sociedad plus 225 on that one.
From our friends at the Chronicle in Newcastle, basically all we have now is a nervous wait over the prognosis. So that's where we are right now about Miguel Almiron.
Okay. That does not sound good. Nervous waits are not good. A couple other elements here in England. Fulham, one of their players was given a lockdown-busting surprise birthday party. That's not good. Not good at all. Terence Congolo. Greeted at home by 7 cheering friends in the early hours of Monday. No mixing of households indoors is currently permitted in the UK. Bruh. Well, I mean, if it's not his fault, I guess, in this case, if he walks in the door and they're all there waiting to have a party. That's not his fault. It's not his fault.
No, it's not. But for those that wanted to have said party,
yes.
Come on now.
Plonkers. You also have a injury at Newcastle with Alan Saint-Maximin. He limped off the pitch. Scans, you're trying to assess the extent of the damage. Callum Wilson out for several more weeks. Sorry, Alex Bassine. Might not be good for Newcastle these days. It might not at all. Nope. In France, you're going to have some experiments that will potentially get people back in the stands in 3 to 4 weeks.
Friends.
Thank you. Probably some limited attendances, protocol, experiments, et cetera, et cetera. So 3 to 4 weeks, you might start having some people in the buildings. Frank McCourt, owner of Marseille, is going to be in France today. He's going to meet with supporters groups who invaded the training ground with fireworks and created thousands of euros of damages at the facilities. He's going to meet with them about all the things going on at the club. Might want to make sure he's got good security. Jorge Sampaoli will arrive in Marseille on Tuesday. French government regulations, he has to self-isolate for 7 days. The club may ask for special dispensation to allow for a shorter isolation period. It is not clear if that will happen yet, but Sampaoli will arrive shortly. Had some injuries down in South America over the weekend for Boca and River. Javier Pinola, broken right arm, looked really painful. He's going to be out for at least 3 months. Good thing they went and got David Martinez instead of him coming to Atlanta. It worked out well for River because he came in and replaced Pinola, and he's probably going to start for him moving forward. Boca had a couple. The easier one is center back Carlos Izquierdos. Rib injury, left in the 28th minute of their match. The bad one is Eduardo Salvio, left knee injury. They have had some scans, and Teise reported this morning, torn ligaments in his knee. Don't know which ligaments, but he's out for at least 6 months, going to be surgery. He had 2 knee surgeries on his right knee earlier in his career when he was in Europe. This is the first on the left knee. Ugh, just awful luck. Non-contact. So, it is what it is. I'm assuming potentially ACL, but I don't know if that has been confirmed yet. So River and Boca with some issues. They're 2 weeks out from the Super Clasico in Argentina. Neither one's really looking all that great in league play right now. River, unconvincing 1-0 win over the weekend. Boca, really unconvincing 1-1 draw over the weekend. Not good at all. Brazil, we talked about the league ending, but there's still one more thing to do, the final of the Copa de Brazil. Palmeiras won 1-0 on the road at Grêmio. The second leg is this Sunday. That will be the end of the 2020 campaign. The 2021 season's already started. The state tournaments, the league, the regional tournaments, they're already underway. A lot of them kicked off on Saturday. Thanks to Rio, they at least waited till Tuesday. A couple extra days rest. You have these tournaments that in some cases are bigger than others. Some teams will go with first choice lineups in these things. Some won't. Once you get down to the final stages, it becomes a bigger deal. So some teams will go with more reserves early on where you're playing, far lesser competition and then bring the big guns out when they need to. It's rough. I don't know how this is going to work out because these guys haven't had a break. I mean, you're looking basically at the league season kicked off in early August after the pandemic stoppage. They played all the way through Thursday. Intense summer heat. Before that in August, most of the teams had been in action concluding their state tournaments. So July, I think maybe even somewhere in June, they came back pretty fast. So you had June, July, all the way to now, no break, in some cases playing 3 games a week, 2 games a week. Brutal. Now no real break going into the state competitions and the regional tournaments. Some might give their first choice guys a break for a little while. Some won't. And now you've got like 9 more months to go with the new season because the state tournaments will go through May. The National League will start in May. That'll run through early December, so you're condensing it down to get it done by the end of 21. You've got Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana for these teams. They're not taking a break during the Copa America or the Olympics in June and July. 16 months of nonstop action in Brazil. Now, also, Brazil's having some massive issues with the pandemic. Death toll on Thursday was the highest 24-hour figure since the beginning of the pandemic. They moved the first leg of that cup final between Grêmio and Palmeiras from 4 in the afternoon to 9 in the evening. Not because of the summer heat, because they thought that fewer people would gather in bars to watch the game if they did it later. I mean, it's crazy. Guys are being rushed back from injury. Guys are being rushed back from testing positive for COVID. I mean, it's just all over the place. And it's Brazil. It's chaos, and it's going to continue to be chaos. DM Tim asked, what's the league normally run in terms of the calendar? It's changed a lot. I think normally it's still chaos. Don't get me wrong. But normally there's at least a month or so break in the summer. In their summer, in like January. I believe normally the regional leagues start around the time they are now, maybe in February. and run, and then there's a little bit of a break before the National League. It's not much, but it's better than it is right now. 16 months straight is insane. So, we'll keep you posted on it. Costa Rica, Alajuelense won 3-0 yesterday over Sporting San Jose. No shock. They are undefeated in a lot of games. I think 20 now is where we're at. Cuban forward Marcel Hernandez had a hat trick in the game, 7 goals on the season. He is becoming a player to watch. Veteran Cuban forward Marcel Hernandez. The Chinese Super League, you probably know a little bit more about this than I do. The owners of Jiangsu, who's the same owners as Inter in Italy, just said, "No, we're done. We're out."
Yeah, we're done. Gone. Bye.
Yeah, they're going to focus on their retail business. They're just like, "No, we're out."
I mean, their retail business is probably important.
Yeah. So they come out with a statement. Even though we're reluctant to part with the players and fans, and I think Pato was actually a player for Jiangsu at one point last season, shared solidarity with the club, have to regretfully make an announcement, cease operations of its teams. In the past 6 months, the club's been looking around to seek a takeover, and so now they're going to focus on the retail business. But I think that the greater question here is, the other teams that are in the European theater or internationally that have Chinese investment. What happens to them? And West Brom is an example of that in the Premier League with their investment there. Wolves are owned by Fosun as well. So you have these two teams that are tied to Chinese investment. How does this announcement affect them? Although the decision on Inter, they've said that it's not going to impact their investments on Inter, but will it impact West Brom and Wolves? That's another question for me.
They are trying to sell shares at Inter and potentially even sell the whole thing. I think they'd like to maintain majority ownership, but that's not a definite. So, I mean, that's been going on. That's not new. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that accelerates because of this or if this actually makes it easier to wait on the right deal. Yeah. Not sure.
But, with West Brom being relegated, if it happens that they are relegated, it's just, with things being as they are, everyone's anticipating that it will happen. The value of West Brom will decrease. So, you're looking at that financial implication as well when it comes to the current ownership and as another element of all of this, too, to consider when you're looking at the rest of this season and trying to get out.
Barcelona's statement on the situation today that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Police searched the club's offices related to the Barçagate social media scandal. There's also potential money laundering that has been mentioned by Guillaume Balage. As the offices were being searched and stadium was being searched and cars were being searched, former club president Josep Bartomeu was one of 4 men arrested. Barcelona's statement regarding the entry and search by the Catalan police force this morning at the Camp Nou offices by order of the instructing court number 13 in Barcelona, which is in charge of the case relating to the contracting of monitoring services on social networks. FC Barcelona have offered up their full collaboration to the legal and police authorities to help make clear facts which are subject to investigation. The information and documentation requested by the judicial police force relate strictly to the facts relative to this case. FC Barcelona express its utmost respect for the judicial process in place and for the principle of presumed innocence for the people affected within the remit of this investigation. This I3 Ventures was reportedly paid by either Bartomeu or the board or the club, and it was hidden to polish his image personally and criticize opponents and tarnish the image of former and even current players at the club, like Lionel Messi, like Gerard Piqué, former people like Xavi, like Pep Guardiola, and like Victor Font, who is running for president now. That presidential election is set for March 7th, with all of this as a backdrop. Yay. Good times. Mm-hmm. Anything else on Twitter before we go?
We're caught up, sir.
All right. I will give a last call on the Twitch pitch for any final questions that are there, and we will get into it. Thank you to Howard Hamilton from Soccer Metrics, at Soccer Metrics on Twitter. In Brazil, there are requirements that first-choice players have to play in the state championship games. There's financial sanctions if they don't. I'm wondering what kind of wiggle room there is. I mean, do you have the injury of a hamstring that has a player miss a couple of games? I guess, but I don't know what that looks like. I mean, these guys can't play every single possible game. They have to get some breaks, but some of these guys end up playing 60-plus games a year, and that's insane. It's insane, and this year's going to be more insane because there's no break. Oy.
Yeah.
Question from Thomas Jawin. What is the earliest Giannetti could train with the team? I mean, if he starts protocol today and it's 7 days.
Yeah, week from today, week from tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's my assumption. So that's the earliest I know. I don't know if that can be accelerated. I don't know what that would look like. I mean, he flew, I'm assuming commercial, so I don't think you're going to get any extra time off that way. So, yeah, March 8th-ish is what I'm thinking. 7 days is what I have heard. I don't know if that's changed for 2021, but that's what it was before. Okay, Nick Alifi, Messi stands and Real Madrid fans unified in celebration over Barca's board members getting arrested. They're excited. It's craziness. That whole thing was crazy to begin with, and now with potential money laundering aspects and trying to hide the payments of it, it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Uncle says likelihood on preseason matches. There's absolutely preseason matches. There's no question on that. How many? 3 to 5, it seems to be the ballpark. They all seem to be in the region from what Carlos Bocanegra said. Maybe even all of them in the metro area. I don't know opponents, but I'm guessing you're looking at your Birmingham's, maybe a Nashville. I don't know what their plans are.
I'll tell you in a second.
Well, we know one game that's a plan. That doesn't mean their whole preseason, and they couldn't ever possibly play Atlanta, right?
Nashville is set to have 3 as of right now.
Okay.
MLS opponents. They're playing a USL Championship team locally in Nashville on the 20th. Then they go to IMG to play an MLS side undetermined. Okay. Play an MLS side undetermined at Al Lang on the 27th. Go back to IMG on the 31st to play an unnamed USL Championship side. April 3rd, they play Inter Miami at IMG.
I saw that.
Then they'll return to Nashville on the 10th with a TBD. So that's Nashville's schedule. Looks like 6 matches.
Yeah, they could squeeze one in against Atlanta if they wanted to. Here or there, that's possible. But anyway, you get my point about who you could be playing. Birmingham, Chattanooga's, Nashville's, Greenville's, Charlotte's, Charlotte Independence, Charleston, Tormenta, like the teams around. I mean, you've got possibilities. I don't know if anybody's coming in from further afield, like a North Carolina, maybe, possibly. I don't know. But those are the options you have. There will be preseason matches, just don't know the details yet. Working on it.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got. Probably Mazzano, he'll tweet the preseason schedule. Darren will tweet it right after, and he'll tweet Giannetti showing up and probably have a video with Giannetti. It'll happen like right as I say we're done. Bye. That's what goes on.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Something with maybe an LG phone.
Yes, I'd like to think he's a little more clever than that, John. But yes. Would that be your secret tweet? Would be holding up an LG phone?
Because I have one, so yeah, there you go.
Just holding up an LG phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Unc, you'll be able to get your fix on preseason for sure. I don't know the broadcast situations. There will be games streamed, and there will be preseason coverage. I just don't know what all it's going to look like just yet. Working on it. It will happen. There'll be something. I can tell you that much for sure. That's all I know at this point. The on this day we have not hit. We will in just a second. Ragamuffin throws in an on this day that Yellowstone became the first national park in 1872. Did not know that. That is cool. We'll get into the rest of the on this day in one moment. I think in terms of announcements, we're waiting on Novo. We're waiting on Giannetti to see what those look like. I guess the Venezuelan winger is possible as well. That's all I can think of at the moment in terms of pending things from Atlanta United in terms of announcements. I think we've caught up on all the latest news. I know something will happen after we go, because it always does.
Of course.
We
Yes.
will have soccer over there tonight, 7 o'clock. We'll get into all this other stuff. We'll probably have more to talk about in terms of Barcelona and all the madness. We'll get into that. But that's tonight, 7 o'clock, on the Twitch, on the app as well, so you can be part of that, and you can join into the silliness. Nick Alifi and Jarrett Smith. Hopefully, Jarrett just kind of pops in, and you hear crickets in the background, and he's walking down the street. And it's
Grocery
weird.
stores.
Grocery stores sometimes. It's just completely and utterly weird. On this day, musically, Harry Belafonte was born on this day in 1927.
So that makes him 94?
I hope it makes him 94.
I was trying to do math.
I'm not 100% sure of that. He was born on this day in 1927.
Yeah. So he is 94. And let's see, married 3 times, 4 children, including Sherry Belafonte Harper. Born in Harlem, New York, as Harold George Belafonte Jr.
Okay. Do you want to talk about his music?
What were you going to get into with the music?
No, I'm asking you. Do you know his music?
I mean, it's calypso, but I mean,
I'm not up on the latest great songs from Harry Belafonte.
No, but I mean, I know everybody knows the Banana Boat song
yes,
from Harry
that was the
Belafonte,
one,
calypso, and all that kind of stuff. But that's about my base as well.
Yes. Groundbreaking at the time. Born in Harlem, age 8, moved to Jamaica with his family. Absolutely influenced his music and influenced popular music. Absolutely, 100%. Other popular music people who are very different from Harry Belafonte, Kesha was born on this day in 1987.
Okay.
Do you know any songs by Kesha?
No, I don't.
Do you know who Kesha is?
I know who she is. Would have to probably go onto YouTube or Spotify and sit there and go, oh, okay, that's a Kesha song.
Do you know how she originally spelled her name as an artist?
With the $ is the S.
Okay, you knew that. Good job. She's had some good pop songs. I'm not going to hate on Kesha at all. 1994 on this day, born in London, Ontario, Canada, so John probably loves him, Justin Bieber.
Oh, that'd be a no.
Why are you getting all hating on Justin Bieber? What did Justin Bieber do?
I am not a believer.
Why are you hating on Justin Bieber? Because I didn't ask you if you were a fan. I just mentioned his name, and you started,
because you're sitting there and you're going, I assume that you were going to the fan of his music, and I'm just...
you defended Nickelback, and they're Canadian, so I figured you'd defend Bieber because he's Canadian.
Oh, no, sir, that's not going to happen.
Justin Bieber's better than Nickelback. Yeah, I said it.
All right, there you go.
It's that funny? You love the Nickelback, huh?
I just disagree with that.
Because he doesn't play a guitar?
Yeah.
That's why? Because he doesn't play a guitar? You hate Justin Bieber and you're going to defend Nickelback?
Too much gratuitous self-promotion. I'm just never been a fan. No.
I'm not a fan of Justin Bieber, but he gets a lot of hatred, and John's immediate hatred for Justin Bieber was a little upsetting.
Just I'm not a believer. Nope.
I didn't ask you to be a fan, John.
Not happening.
You're hating. There's a difference. You understand that, correct?
No.
You don't so you can't just be meh about anything. You have to love it or hate it.
I can be mad about something.
So you're not mad about Justin Bieber. You are not allowed to be. You cannot stand the man and his music.
I just don't like his music. No.
But no. Again, John, you didn't act like I don't really like his music. You got like ew, Mikey and cereal face on it.
Yeah.
I'm
not the only one.
You didn't just say I don't like his music. You really don't like this man.
Don't like his music, and like I said, I just don't like the blatant self-promotion.
But you love Jeezy.
I'm down with Jeezy. Do I know any of his music? No. Once again, I'd have to go to YouTube or Spotify and go, that's a Jeezy tune.
I'm talking about the self-promotion part of it because that's what
music
like artists do.
I don't know about Jeezy and the self-promotion part. I'm not up on my self-promoting Jeeziness.
Justin Bieber and self-promotion really isn't even the issue with him. I don't even know why that's a topic here because that's what musical artists do generally. Anyway, wow, I didn't expect that to get the hatred on Justin Bieber. I'm not really a fan, but he's had some good songs. Anyway, Atlanta indoor soccer on this day. There's a couple things, shockingly enough.
This was one of those was good. I did not know this or remember it, and when I was trying to find out info, but go ahead.
Yeah, 3TH, John's music takes are as confusing as his food takes. Sometimes it's really strange. 1981, the Atlanta Chiefs played their last ever indoor soccer match. They were knocked out of the playoffs by the Chicago Sting. They had won the Eastern Conference regular season title. They were really good indoors, first off on the field, but they were also better, the second version of the Chiefs, at drawing fans indoors rather than outdoors. They drew more at the Omni than they did at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, which is weird. And they didn't continue. There was actually rumors that they would move into the MISL, but they did not. When Ted Turner pulled his money out to, make sure he had the proper investment for a little thing called CNN, I think he bet on the right thing at the time. It worked out. So the Atlanta Chiefs played their last indoor soccer match on this day. In 1991, the Atlanta Attack in league play in the NPSL at the time. There's been like 5 NPSL leagues in this country. This was the indoor version. The Atlanta Attack beat the Chicago Power 28-5. The game ended with a bench-clearing brawl at the Omni.
That's awesome.
I
vaguely remember seeing highlights of it. I think it was on I think it was Channel 5 that night.
Yeah, somebody got kicked, somebody got mad, and there's a bench-clearing brawl and lots of pointing and lots of kicking. I had moved to Kentucky at that time when the Attack existed, so I only got to see one Atlanta Attack game at the Omni when we were back visiting at one time. They lasted 2 years, and the second year was completely ridiculous in the front office and people getting fired and people losing their jobs and ownership issues. And then they sold out and moved to Kansas City and lasted a few years in Kansas City, and that was it. Birthdays on this day. In the Atlanta soccer world, former Silverbacks goalkeeper Brian Hancock played for the Silverbacks back in the early 2000s. Jonathan Spector in Atlanta United's front office, 35 years old today. And in Major League Soccer, Carlos Vela, 32 today. And Taylor Twellman would have had a birthday yesterday, but there was no leap day, so he is still only like 8 years old.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Quick news out of Sacramento. Ben Gumpert is announcing that he's stepping down in his role as president and CEO of the Sacramento Republic.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
That's not the follow-up you wanted to see.
Nope.
No bueno at all. Is there anything else on it?
No, literally, he just, there's an open letter that he posted to the Sacramento Republic website, clicking on it right now. Opening paragraph, I do so with a heavy heart, but also one full of immense pride for all that we've accomplished together. I do so knowing that no matter where I go or what new opportunities lie ahead, I will always be a part of Sacramento, or as a Republic AFC. I've agreed to stay on at this time as an advisor to provide assistance in all areas to Kevin Nagel and ownership, the team, and city leadership. Still confident that a first-class investor will emerge who recognizes the potential of this club and city and that MLS remains in Sacramento's future. Also, on the team store, there were some Sacramento MLS T-shirts. They have been removed.
Not good. Not good at all. That's not the follow-up that makes you feel good about things getting right in Sacramento. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Another on this day that I did not know about. In 2006, on this day, the United States defeated Poland in Germany. It was exhibition a few months ahead of the World Cup in 2006. It didn't really go well. Clint Dempsey scored the goal against Poland in a 1-0 win. That had the forward line of Taylor Twellman, Eddie Johnson, and Clint Dempsey. Did not go well in that World Cup, though. That part didn't work. Teams are starting to talk about what preseason is going to look like around the league. New England Revolution, 3 weeks in Foxborough, 3 weeks in Los Angeles is what they will be doing for preseason. They're looking to bring in another player before the season starts, and then they'll evaluate where they're at. This is Bruce Arena speaking locally in New England. He said that Carlos Heel looks pretty good for his first day back. He came back late last season, was good. They need him healthy. If they're going to be a top team in the East, they need Carlos Heel. There's just no way around it. They don't have a ton of depth. See, we're edging towards the 3-hour shows. Edging.
But we're not.
No, we are edging towards the 3-hour shows.
We are, but we're not a 3-hour show.
Okay, settle down. It's like I mentioned Justin Bieber's name again, and you got riled
Edging
up
toward
about it.
but we're not a 3-hour show.
What do you think about Justin Bieber, John?
I'm not a believer.
You keep saying that like it's like a really good take. It's not. Why do you not like him? Beyond the self-promotion, which every musical artist does.
I never liked his music. Like I said, I've just never been a fan of his music.
What was the last pop song that you enjoyed? Was it in the 2000s? Was it in the 90s? Are we going back to the 80s?
No.
What was the last purely pop song that you enjoyed, that you like, that you would hear on the radio today and you would sing along to softly? Pure pop song.
I wouldn't sing along too softly with it, but
you know what I mean. Stop it. Everybody sings along in a car by themselves at some point.
No, I know, but I wouldn't be singing along softly though. That's my point.
So you'd be singing along loudly.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would that latest pop song be? The last one that was released. Was it in this century?
Yeah.
So it's been since 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I don't need it exact. Just give me like the first pop song you think of that you're like, oh yeah, I liked that one.
Oh, "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift.
You're gonna hate on Bieber. Okay. All right, that's fine. Kingston Trio, probably.
I'd have to do a YouTube search on the Kingston Trio.
That's just mean.
Hang down
really
at Tom Dooley.
Oh man,
not so much.
Sean Vergara, no, I would not leave Atlanta United Radio for Vegas TV color. No, I'm not going to Vegas. I'm an Atlanta guy. Lived here my whole life, except for a few years in Lexington, Kentucky. That's it. And I was in school. I didn't really have a choice about that one. So, yeah, you're going to have to, John. Here's your homework. You're being issued homework.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about it tomorrow. I want you to listen to...
Writing it down.
Let me see what song I want. I think I know. But let's make sure of it. I want you to listen to some of the collaborations that have happened here lately between your boy, Justin Bieber, and Bad Bunny. Do you know Bad Bunny?
No, he's the 24/7 champion. He's probably going to have a WrestleMania match against The Miz.
Is he still the champion?
I think so.
Okay. I want you to, and I'll give you two. So I want you to report back to us about what you learn about the collaborations between Justin Bieber and Bad Bunny and J Balvin.
J Balvin. Okay.
I want you to listen to these. I want you to report back. I want you to tell us about it tomorrow.
All right.
And try to use terminology from this century, please.
From the 21st century? Okay.
It's really swinging. Don't give us that one.
No. Kind of like being down with Jeezy.
That's close to the century, at least. It's a start. We'll see what happens. But that's going to do it today. I know, we didn't go 3 hours. I know. Sorry, guys. Shortly. Soon enough, it'll happen. And we'll have like full actual formatting instead of just BSing at the end. But like I said at the beginning, in a very short way, I make the world a better place around you today. Do what you can to do that. Embrace good. Don't get caught up in stupid takes that you know are stupid. Don't waste your energy. You only got so much. We'll see you tomorrow for the show in the morning, but we'll see you tonight for soccer over there, 7 o'clock. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.